Clips.
And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell. Alrighty, bib tubes. Another one of Clips. So if you like politics, but are sick of the tits, then get your fix from my daily PoliTITS. Concept is quite simple. Go around as many talking holes in the English-speaking news world as I can and compare notes. This morning, if I've not heard wrong, and there's a possibility I might have, I done some deep research. First page of Google search results. And I couldn't find it quickly, but I'm sure I heard last night them saying that this morning they were going to have interviews with a few of the leaders and all that on Sky News, which would make sense in the run up to the election because of all the bureaucracy and rules and regulations that exist. They all have to have an equal kind of say, or any I can't even call them news organisations, you know. Sky News isn't news. It's like Nick should be turning around and telling me like the news of the world was the height of journalism, you know. Like, I was in the bath this morning listening to that talk in the bin, and they're sitting talking, and I go, okay, we're going to go to this reporter from 5 News, then we're going to go to this reporter from Sky News, and I'm like, I saw the one, oh no, the Times. Oh, we're going to, blah, 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 on Talk TV. And they're talking about an article that's on that's in the Times. This is just Rupert Murdoch. They're in the fucking same, literally in the same building, the second shard, which I do want to stick into my Googles and find out whether that's still owned by the Qataris, like the big shard. Anywho, so the concept's easy. Reuters, BBC, Sky Newsies, RT, Al Jazeera, Press TV, the German wave, the Germans, the Yankee Doodle Dandies, the Chinese, Nigel Farage's Dangleberries, some more Fox News from the States, Australia, Associated Press, the BBC's and Talk. I love to hate those kind of Great Britain News and Talk TV, and it's always very, well, they're one of the same. I mean, you couldn't get a bit of paper between them. I'm pretty sure some of the presenters have even crossed streams, and if you've ever seen Ghostbusters, you know you don't want to be crossing streams. Hold on. 1, 2, yeah, the audios. Alright, DJ, alright, Richie, my man, good morning. Nigel Farage, the British Trump. Well, they're one of the same, man. Before he dropped trail and got stuck into this election, he came out and said that he was going to go to the States and be an advisor for Trump or something, didn't he? So that it's no, I don't think it's any secret that him and Donald Trump are like that. And the way that he dealt with those quotes coming out was very... Now, this is the one.
38 Sundays since the man in 10 Downing Street was not a Conservative. Could this Sunday be, in Taylor Swift's words, the last time?
Oh my, like, I'm already 2 seconds in and I'm like, fuck's sake, you're hitting, like, this is like fucking, what you call him, Trevor McDonald rebranded for Sky News. Anyway, so Taylor, what the fuck? I thought I was talking about politics and already we're fucking talking about pop stars.
Sunak and Keir Starmer are singing from the same song sheet and they're advising, don't bet on it, it's not over yet.
Same hymn sheet. Did they change it to song sheet to try and be non-racial Pacific? Have you ever heard that? They're singing from the same song sheet. I can't comment as fuck up sayings all the time, but I've got no teleprompter, no script. I have no idea what I'm going to say before I say it. So there's my excuse anyway.
Sunak came out fighting in their debate this week, but he's weighed down by the legacy of Johnson and Trust. Just can't seem to shake it off. Keir Starmer told a rally yesterday that he's ready for it, but he reminded them Labour has formed. In 1970, 1987, 1992, the party snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. We'll speak to the Deputy Prime Minister, Oliver Dowden. This could be the last Sunday he gets to use that title for a while.
He's a strange.
We're joined by Labour's consigliere, Pat McFadden. He's the man running this
I might have
election
fucked up
campaign
here,
for the
by the
party.
way. I don't know if Farage is on this lot.
Reform leader Nigel Farage will be live in the studio.
Boom!
Is he the one who will turn a defeat into a catastrophe for the Conservatives?
Fuck, I was beginning to think I'd fucking
And is
dreamt
this
that
the
last
week
night.
when the SNP gets knocked off their perch? We'll speak
Oh
to
my
Green
god,
Party
did you see
leader
the
John
state of the
Swinton.
SNP the other day? They were as bad as me, they had
Plus, with
fucking
us
cheap
throughout
ass
the show,
fucking
two former
glasses
Downing
on,
Street
man.
Directors of communications on opposite sides of the political divide. Alistair Campbell was
Oh,
at Tony
they're-
Blair's side when Labour last went from opposition into government.
I don't know
Craig
if
Oliver
drinking
worked for
coffee
David
and
Cameron,
watching this is a
who took
good
over
idea.
when they
I don't
were
know,
kicked
I'll
out
counteract
a
it with a
decade
tape.
later. And alongside them all morning, we'll have the broadcaster and journalist, Daisy McAndrew. Welcome to Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. 4 days to go. Our election campaign may not offer the drama of the Le Pen surge in France or the sheer mind-boggling surrealism of America's contest, but it does matter. And how we talk to and about each other also matters. This week we've seen activists bringing an ugly dollop of bigotry to their campaigning, caught out using racist and homophobic language. Well, this is hardly new news. We can go all the way back to the general election of 1964, exactly 60 years ago, when a candidate won the Smethwick seat with a slogan I'm not going to repeat on air, but which sounds like, if you want a Tigger for a neighbour, vote Labour. This presents a dilemma for broadcasters. On the one hand, we need to report and debate what is said in plain language. On the other, we don't want to upset.
I never knew that wee factoid. That's quite interesting. It was at 1964. Somebody getting elected like that. What was it? If you want a nigger for your neighbour, vote Labour. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Wow, man, and in some perspective, I grew up with the perception until I started saying what I see in the real world, and I'm talking about that. I'm not even talking about conspiratardom. I'm talking about well before that. What I mean in a sense is, and I grew up with the perception that Britain was one of the most racist countries in the world, and then as I started touching base with other cultures and whatnot, I realised that we're not as bad as other countries. I suppose that's what I'm going to say. But yeah, the badge is on later on.
People unnecessarily. Personally, I dislike the use of euphemisms such as the N-word or the P-word, which I think simply trivialise the hostile intent.
Remember, they hate us for our freedom of speech. Man, fucking Shakespeare, fucking Rabbie Burns will be turning in their grave. You know, you can't even fucking move in the United States without them talking in abbreviations, man. You can't talk to you. If you can talk to young people nowadays, you can't understand them. And this is somebody who doesn't speak English or speak Norwegian. And then you've got news presenters sitting on there who are scared to say words. They'll show you 20 million dead Palestinian bodies hanging together. Tell you this is really distressful, graphic fucking content. You might see human beings getting blown up. They were just showing you that that helicopter gunship in Iraq blowing up all those fucking with a big high cal machine gun mounted on the bottom of that. Just showed you that. And then it comes to saying the word nigger and packy in the context of a fucking news story, and their fucking arseholes are twitching like that. I'm sorry, man. I'm in a weird place. I do not have any problem saying any word whatsoever in the right context. It really annoys me, the fucking world in which we've slipped into. This is akin to burning fucking books. What's going to happen in the future when everybody refuses to say those words? There was a word that existed one time, but we've all fucking forgot it. It went down the fucking memory hole. Fuck me. Anyway.
I prefer to call a spade, as the Prime Minister did this week. In our family, we...
But you can't use the word nigger or packy in the context of historical fact that you just talked about there, with a cunt using a slogan with the word nigger in it. But you're like, oh, I'm not going to use it so early in the morning. Let me just put some fucking hip-hop on. Fucking, what the fuck is this?
Protect our children, not by hiding them from the reality of the world, but preparing them for a world in which such words are still regrettably commonplace. They understand from the get-go that the person with the problem is not them, but the racist.
This is doing my fucking
all that
tits
said,
in,
out
man.
of courtesy to some
If it's used in a racist context, aye, the words are abhorrent, man. You don't just bounce around the fucking streets looking for somebody that's black or brown or fucking anything, and then just start hitting them with racist slurs to wind them up. But if you're using it in the context of a fucking campaign slogan that was getting used in the UK in the 1960s, which is good historical fact to paint a picture of what the culture was like in the 60s here in the UK, and you're fucking sitting around going, well, the P to the A to the AKK word, because you're scared to say fucking words that are in the English language? What the fuck?
And who may be distressed by the use of such words, we'll do our best to avoid them today.
Distressed by the use of such words?
Prime Minister Oliver
Oh my fucking lord! I'm waiting my fucking niggers. I'm waiting my fucking knickers. Somebody's only say a word. Fuck the context. Doesn't matter the context. Let's even in historical facts. Let's not say this word in historical facts and context in the future. What we'll do is we'll get all the historic history books and all the websites when Ofcom gets a hold of the internet regulations, and we'll go through and we'll put that word just down the memory hole. So forever on, it will be known as the N-word. Nobody in the future will ever say this word ever again. Think of the utopia, unicorns and flying monkeys. And nobody will say words that we don't want people to say, regardless of the fucking context. Who gives a fuck about context? Who gives a fuck about context? Let's just go through the English language, and fuck the English language. Let's just go through the language of the entire human race and scrub the words out that some people's assholes might twitch because they're fucking get a rip in their fucking tights. And then we'll move into a wonderful fucking utopia in the future where we'll all just, we'll all walk about going flippity floppity flu, A to the word, to the C to the K word, fucking speaking in hieroglyphs and emojis, man. I can see it now. Nigel Farage will be king.
The angel of death for your kind of conservatism, Nigel Farage. Now, you've told the Sunday Times this morning that you're gravely concerned about Russian influence boosting the reform campaign. Are you saying that Putin is backing Farage?
Well, this is something that I've warned about for some time. Indeed, I was at a Defending Democracy Summit in Korea earlier in the year, meeting with leaders from around the world to discuss exactly this.
I shouldn't watch politicians full stop,
and indeed
man.
we see it in this election from hostile state actors
See, if we have a French
influence the
Revolution
outcome of
over
the
here, the
election
political
campaign.
class,
Russia is
first
a
to
prime
the fucking
example of this,
guillotine, man.
and this is a
Look
classic
at
example
his
from the
state of
Russian
them.
playbook. Now,
He
what I would say
represents
is
you.
that this is relatively
See, any
typical
stupid
low-level
fuck that
stuff,
went and
the use
voted
of
and put
bots,
their
but we
X
have
in
stood
that
up
box,
the
creating a
election
social
cell in the
contract
cabinet
with
office.
you
We
and
did
these
that at the very beginning
institutions.
of the
This
campaign, and it
motherfucker
was designed
represents
to
you,
look
you dick.
into exactly this sort of
Or
thing. And I think
vagina.
for your viewers, it should just be a salutary reminder for all of us, when you engage on social media, are these people that you think are...
Does this guy
are they
represent
real,
you?
or are they
Do you think
bots
you could
generated
sit
by
and have a
hostile
chat
state
with him?
actors? It's something we all need to be aware of.
I'll ask him
Yeah.
directly later on, but do you think that Mr Farage is aware of this?
I know what the
Approves of it?
working
Cares
men
about
wants
it?
nowadays,
I
you know,
have,
don't you know?
absolutely no idea. Those are all questions for Nigel Farage to answer. By the way, I'm not remotely suggesting there's some sort of direct collusion between the two of them. What I am warning about is the threat of
Well, we know he admires Putin.
Russian state interference in our elections. And when it comes to Nigel Farage's comments
Russian
in relation
state
to
interference in our
Ukraine,
elections.
I deeply...
Right, we've just sat and watched fucking the English-speaking language covering the Iranian election, the American election, the French election is now getting covered as well. And the Russian election, which wasn't election according to Western press. So the interference they're talking about is Russia meddling in Russia and their intelligence services meddling in social medias and RT etc. propagating their messaging into other countries for their benefit and not for the country's benefit. And I don't know, like the fucking Muppets that are the British Muppets that are over fighting for Putin's Russia and Ukraine. I wanted to go and fight fascists. I mean, come on. That shows you how powerful a tool the Tinterwebs is.
Concerned by the fact that he chose to use the old narrative of somehow that the EU or someone else was responsible for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Only Russia was responsible for Russia's...
Shut up, you scarecrow bastard. See, this is, well, again, right, look, I don't even think, right, see the reality, right, I'll sit here and say hundreds of stupid shit about this guy. This guy's got no choice in the matter, man. He signed up, he knows what his job is. His job is to bounce up and lie and toe the party line, literally toe the party line, right? Now, when it comes to geopolitics, it isn't just a party line, it's the national line, you know, and then even, so the intelligence services are dictating to you what you have to say. So, he's no fool. He is no fool. They have to repeat this mantra while they're at war, otherwise they look like the bad guys. You lose the hearts and minds, not only of the other side, but of your fucking own side, your own public, which drip feeds into the soldiers, which brings down morale, which means you get done in on the fucking war, the war field. The war zones, war field. So I understand what's going on here. I like to point out though, the realities, and it isn't from a pro-Putler or a pro-whatever stance, but this has been a NATO expansion for obvious reasons. A lot of Western elements wanted to swallow up Ukraine for their economy. And all the resources they've got, numerous grain, etc., hundreds of shit they've got. Russia was trying to do the same, and it got caught in a tug of war, and no side backed down, just like in Syria, so it's no surprise it happened in Ukraine. Syria is still an ongoing warfield. Russia still has troops inside Syria. Russia's in there training fucking the local fucking dumbass Arabs to fight for them against ISIS in the west inside Syria. Just as Lebanon's front's opening up. I mean, it's not even like a tinderbox ready to go off. It's already went off, man. It's like Iran are threatening Israel, overextending. They're threatening Israel not to go to full-on warfare. If bombing them from above isn't full-on warfare, I don't know what is. But anyway, it's semantics. So, Ukraine get caught in a tug of war. The West instigated, I call it Maidan, people call it Euromaidan, or Euromaidan or whatever, right? Victoria Nuland, I'm sure she was the Secretary of State for America at the time, was in the fucking protest and in the crowd of the protesters handing out, was it fucking cookies or something? And that isn't even in a word of an exaggeration. And then she got caught by the Ruskies who intercepted a phone call and leaked it through RT, because it's the best, it's honestly, RT tells you the truth, it's the news. And they leaked the phone call of Victoria Nuland getting caught on phone, obviously, talking about how to divvy up Ukraine and like saying fuck the EU. So you've seen the friction between like the Biden mob and their clique trying to get their paws on the assets of Ukraine and the European Union as well. So it was an economic struggle between the Russian Federation and the NATO, the competing factions within inside NATO, the European Union elements and the United States elements, which there's a fracture in right now because of Brexit and Trump. So you can see why Putin wants Brexit, or the Russian Federation wants Brexit and wants Trump, because it weakens his enemy. It puts, look what Trump's coming out and saying about NATO and their funding and all that jazz, man. So, oh, good. Anyway, let's get back to the Scarecrow telling you how Russia started everything inside Ukraine. Let's not even go to Crimea and pick that apart, because if you do go and pick apart what happened in Ukraine, nobody's telling you the truth, man. Nobody.
Invasion of Ukraine.
But it's not that hard to find out.
The terrible effects that is having on the people of Ukraine right now as bombs rain down on them, and there's a fight between a democracy and freedom going on there, and we should be absolutely clear whose side we're on.
According to polls, most of the people who say they intend to vote for reform voted for your party, the Conservatives, in 2019. What can you say to those people to bring them back?
A lot of them voted for the BNP back, didn't they?
At the election on Thursday, there are only two people that can walk through the door of 10 Downing Street: Keir Starmer or Rishi Sunak. Now, Rishi Sunak has a plan to cut people's taxes, to control migration, to protect our green belt. The alternative
look, he's
is
laughing.
Keir Starmer,
Look,
who has
he's
a plan that
even
will
laughing
involve
at his own
putting up
pish.
people's taxes, whether you're a pensioner, paying tax on your basic state pension, whether you're a time buyer.
Campaign.
Gold bars for everybody! The gold bars are on me!
Farage backed off his challenge to the Tories in 2019. He decided not to put up candidates where he thought the Tories were going to win. He's probably watching now. Try and persuade him to spare the Conservative Party from a humiliating defeat.
Well, I'm not in the business of persuading any of my political opponents. I'm in the business of persuading...
He can help you.
Trevor, I'm in the business of persuading people to vote for the Conservative Party. And why I would say people should vote for the Conservative Party is we've started to turn the economy around. Inflation was 11%, now it's 2%.
Look at his face.
As we get inflation under control, we're...
Right, what is this guy? Is this guy talking about anything serious, or is he having a fucking giraffe? Are these two guys that were sitting tickling each other's balls under the table before the cameras went live, and now it's went live, they're like, right, we need to play the part, we need to do our job, I'm going to ask you the tough questions, okay? And this guy's like, I'll be honest, what he says is irrelevant, man. Because they're out.
Okay, let me ask you this. You've heard some of the language, some of the things that have been said by reform activists and volunteers, which some Mr.
It's a conspiracy! The guy was an actor!
Well, I'm deeply saddened by some of this language, and particularly the language that you alluded to at the top of the programme. I grew up in the 1980s, and I thought the use of the P word was long behind us. And actually, I've been quite heartened by the fact that political parties from across the spectrum have come together to...
See, in my experience, right, racism isn't even a consideration anymore. It's no tolerated. It's just no even like on the cards of being accepted. If that makes any sense, you know. Yeah, and yet, if I was to believe the television, the window licking fucking YouTube streams and all that was an actual insight into the way the world genuinely was, rather than what it is on your own street, I would think racism is like as bad now as it ever has been, and there was KKK on the streets rounding up black and brown folks, and like people, big gangs of white and black and brown folk going around fucking just marauding about, and I don't see I don't see that. Genuinely don't see that. Just like the tranny apocalypse. The tranny apocalypse only happens on the YouTubes and the TV. I don't see this. I've never in my life once experienced any problem with fucking chicks with dicks and all that shit and toilets and all that pish that everybody get, oh, there's a guy they will fucking get it sorted. And the very few instances that happens in a country of fucking, 67 million people? You're going to get some crackpot crazy ass shit happening regardless. Anyway, I just see things differently.
Condemn.
In fact, I don't see things differently. I say what I see on the fucking street. No, what the TV, Sky News, BBC, Al Jazeera, fucking YouTube, Fargon Assad, Count Spunkula, fucking Alex Jones, David Icke, the UK column, the rest of them tell me what's going on. Because every time I fucking listen to those pricks, I can sniff other agendas rather than I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth.
The hurt not just
the
felt by
trannies
the
are
Prime
going to
Minister,
eat
but felt
you.
by the Prime Minister's family as well. And I think it's right that we...
See these people who think the tranny apocalypse is real? Stop hanging around fucking gay dudes' toilets.
We should all come together and call out the use
And
of that.
you won't be
deplorable
coming
language.
across fucking the tranny apocalypse on your daily basis.
I guess, find some way of reaching out to reform. I mean, the truth of the matter is the centre-right has been split. That is what's going to give Labour, if the polls are to be believed, a big majority. Is it too late now to unite the Conservative family?
Well, I think that the way that you unite the
Unite the
Conservative
right
family is for voters. And I understand, genuinely, I have many conversations with voters whose the pen is sort of proverbially hovering over which box to put the cross in. If you're worried, and so many voters I speak to are genuinely worried about what Labour will do to their taxes.
Remember, a cross is the signature of an idiot. And it creates the social contract, which if you go down the legalese bull crap and crackpot craziness and stuff, which I did back in the day, which gives them the social contract, the legal binding contract that they can then stand up with guys in funny wigs and go, here, we legally can now tell you what you fucking do. Bend over and give me your money.
That by making sure they vote Conservative to stop that happening.
When you say to stop that, do you mean that you still think that you can win, or do you mean preventing what Grant Shapps called a super...
Look, even he's laughing. Look, these are just two chaps having a wee giggle. Look at the smirk on both of their faces. They were kicking each other under the table before it went live. And now, action!
A year's time, and think carefully about the consequences of voting Labour and
For
how
people
you
that
can
have
stop
joined
that
late,
happening.
Nigel Farage is on live at some
738
point, so
weekends
stay
you've
tuned.
been
But I
shot.
think for the purposes
The
of
truth of the
being
matter
fair
here
and
is that
biased, they need to
actually
show every
you are
clown
not
of the
just fighting
circus.
Labour, but you're fighting
I want to
your
see
own
the
boss.
fucking raving
Liz
lunatic
Truss,
fucking party
Boris
with
Johnson.
stupid costumes on
This
Sky
is
News.
a catastrophe that's been... For
They
you,
would probably
that's been
take it more
built
serious than these two
over
guys.
many years. And I just wonder, let me ask you a question about that. Why haven't you deployed Boris Johnson, who proved to be your most effective weapon against Farage in 2019? Where is he?
Boris, I think, has already been sending videos and supporting candidates. But I would take, but Trevor, I would take issue.
He's effective.
I'm afraid
I'm not, on the street.
I'm not going to accept the premise of your question. Actually, if you look at the record since 2010, when we came to office, unemployment was a huge problem. Since then...
Fucking... up a bit, down a bit, left a bit, right a bit. Bowman, you're fucked. Right? Welcome to PoliTITS. Fucking hell, I wish the fucking... Swear to God. Son, the last few days in Glasgow has been like a bride's night, eh, man? Up and down, in and out, like a left, right and centre.
This is about the...
But... there's a poll up there if anybody wants to take part, and if anybody hangs around to the end, try and remind me to end it, because I'm really bad at that. But I would answer no, definitely. Like, do you think Nigel Farage and Reform are exactly what they say they are on the tin? Well, I would say no, and to back that up, I would say they're playing on people's tribalism, nationalism, right? Patriotism, if you want to call it that. But yet, it's a global movement. For Le Pen, Wilders, Trump, Farage, the guy in Hungary. There's a mob down in Portugal now. And I'm sure there's other mobs out there as well that I failed to mention, right? That's a global coordinated effort about people going to their own countries and saying that we just want our own country, shut the borders and fuck the rest of the world. So why are you jotting round the world getting support globally? In Germany, the far right part, the far right elements are on the rise as well. If not, it's crazy, the political landscape and how much the internet and social medias have changed it. And that's because the far right jumped all over it, man. We get fussed out the traps.
It's really striking that in this interview, you just seem to refuse to accept that you're carrying that burden.
Well,
the D-Day, the gambling, the rain also. I mean, actually...
brought down from within. Sabotage.
Trevor, I thought I'd said this at the beginning. I accept people's frustrations. And of course, having been in power...
I'm not talking about people's frustrations, I'm talking about your failures.
Would a British patriot go to America and work for Trump? Well, Britannia. And if you go and look at fuck's sake, there was little Tommy Titbag, the British patriot, globe trotting to Canada the other day as well. Oh, and I've spent...
unfortunate enough to lose this election, that what the Tories need is a period of...
Right, I've like the bots or the paid idiots or just their windy licking online army are out in force, right? And what I mean by that is, I spent yesterday just removing comment after comment after comment after comment after comment of pro-reform spam, which I used to get when I made videos criticising the communists.
We are heading into the final week of the election campaign. What Alex Ferguson might have called...
and I've had to do it again this morning.
I don't know what you're all going to be doing on Thursday night.
And
I'm going to be up to.
If I notice it happening again here, I'm sorry, my channel is not a sounding. I like Nigel as well. He's full of charisma. But I'm an old-fashioned conspirator, and I don't like the feeling of people coming here that normally don't fucking give a fuck what's here. Know nothing about my channel, because if they start criticising me, I'm a socialist, I'm a this, I'm a that, bet she's been vaccinated and yada 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 yada, and just spew pro-reform pish. And I don't read comments generally in YouTube videos, but I'm led to believe they actually influence people's opinion, and I ain't allowing that to happen on my channel, because this is Clips dictatorship.
He is absolutely focused on squeezing reform. It's interesting, this story now, they're aiming at reform, Daisy.
Yeah, they've clearly got their sights set, which obviously tells its own story.
There's nothing wrong. I just don't support democracy.
But you're attacking the people who
True
might
crime.
destroy your future. You're looking to after the election. You're not looking to the election.
No, I believe you, buddy. I'm just that's not what I'm saying. I'm like,
when you have lost.
I don't
It's
even.
an interesting tactic because obviously.
I don't even think people are doing it deliberately. I just don't want my channel to be used in anywhere as any way as an electioneering tool or soundboard for people just to come along and say pro-reform stuff. It's like, see, if I wanted this channel to, I'm going to be popular, no, I could just come out and start fucking up with Nigel Farage, and the views would go through the roof, the subs would go through the roof and all that. I'm no like that's those days are gone for me. Anyway, guys, listen to the talking heads.
To be honest, I don't know. I think that one of the things that Rishi Sunak should have done as soon as he came in as Prime Minister was do exactly that. And I think he's probably regretting not having done that. I suppose there was a residual worry that they were going to alienate some people. Party management's been a huge problem, but I think he needs...
Right, see if Shushak... Mate, I'm holding my own election. I'm not giving my consent to any of these muppets. That's why I don't... And if you want to get involved, batter in, man. But I'm pretty sure there's hundreds of like pro-UKIP and pro-Tommy-unist channels out there that you can just go and go, oh, come by, yeah, man. Look how good Tommy is. Reform. There's plenty of channels. This isn't one of these channels. This isn't freedom of speech. I'm a dictator-in-chief on my channel. So pretty much what I say goes. Believe it or not. It's the same in every other channels, but they'll go around going, freedom! Anyway.
I was out canvassing in...
This channel isn't here to be popular.
Newark, yesterday. And there is still a lot
Is this
of
easily
people
done?
saying,
You just need to tell people
they clearly don't want
what
the Tories
we
back.
want to hear.
But an awful lot of people are saying, I just don't know what I'm going to vote. And I think for Labour to get the mandate that they need, the next...
Don't vote. Right? Imagine the turnout. Right.
fails to understand what
You want to listen
changes
to
they're talking
Tony
about
Blair's
represent.
puppet
So,
master?
you know, I know you've got
Scottish.
Farage coming in, and I think
Tony
Farage
Blair, Scottish as well.
really broken
Name.
through in this campaign. But ultimately, the one thing I agree with what Oliver Dowden says, the only two people who can be Prime Minister are Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak. That is the battle in the next few days for Labour.
But Alistair, surely the reason so many, and I completely agree with you that more people than any election I can remember.
Right, I really think they're talking about people's
For the
apathy.
Labour Party, but that has to be the fault.
Right, and they're trying to groom people's apathy to go, spoil your ballot, spoil your ballot, spoil your ballot. You're still signing that contract. You're still giving them your consent. No matter who you vote for, whoever gets in has your consent, because you've consented to the whole process, and thus anything and everything they do, they say they do it by your consent. Now, I done the numbers last general election, Conservatives getting Bobo Johnson, landslide, 12 million, just over 12 million votes they needed. I can't remember the turnout. I looked at the turnouts for the local elections that were down in England and Wales recently. The highest turnout was 40%. I think the lowest was like in the high 20s, right? People's apathy towards the whole political system is at an all-time fucking high. I was just watching yesterday them reporting on the Iranian elections, and they're trying to like they were making the suggestion, because it had they were saying with such a low turnout, it makes people question the legitimacy of the elections. The turnout was at 40%, right? So imagine when the unicorns and flying fucking monkeys arrive and motherfuckers actually listen. Forget the language you use and just listen to what I'm saying. If the whole world, if the whole country, we can't agree on everything, but we can agree on one thing that, well, one thing that most people can agree on is the political system and the political classes serve nothing but themselves. And they're self-serving, almost like they're like gremlins, they're self-replicating. You know, that's why you get wee political dynasties and all that kind of shit. Look at the States, for example. Now, imagine, like, what comes after, fuck knows, right? I say, like, any sensible person would fucking, if we got to a stage where you could stand up and go, yous don't represent us, we're taking back fucking our ball, and we're restructuring shit. Any sensible person would say, right, you don't take a torch and start burning down these buildings. You would gradually implement any changes that people could agree on. But imagine you get the turnout of the election down to such a pathetic fucking state. Such a pathetic... Nobody needs to agree on anything other than fuck the political class, sharpen the guillotines, round up the fucking political class, and let's start chopping their heads off. That's my tongue in my cheek. And if you get that, I mean, imagine you get the turnout down to 20% on a general election. They cunts can't stand up there and go, yada 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 yada, by the power invested in me by a magic man in the fucking sky, I can hit you over the head and lock you up. They can't do it. They've not got the authority that they fucking use the legalese mumble jumble bullshit to claim that they've got over us. And all given to them by the magic man in the sky, let's not forget. Anyway, let's get back to Tony Blair's Puppet Master. So that's my crackpot idea.
Where it is. And just imagine if he were able to do the same sort of thing with the country.
Nobody gets it.
And in a sense, you're playing into this sense that he does what he needs to do to meet the challenges before him at the time, which he's kind of done all his life. But I still think, though, for the next 4 days, I've not seen your interview with Pat.
They're using Farage's bait, aren't they?
The next 4 days, it's got to
Get
be
people
about
watching.
Hope, optimism. You've got to give people a tune to whistle to as they walk to the polling station with real delight in saying, yes, I'm going to get rid of this terrible government, but I also want this government to come in.
Can we come back to what Oliver Dowden was saying? Because I think one of the important questions, whatever the outcome on Thursday, is what's the future of the centre right?
To get your vote because they know everyone is disillusioned.
Nigel Farage.
You're right,
The
Gigi.
tradition that Oliver Dowden...
That's that. See what I've noticed about this election, other than different to previous ones. They seem to be having to manufacture sort of an excitement about this thing. You know, like, oh, we're going to have the two-party debate. Oh, look at the blows. Oh, that was a real fucking dabber. And you're like, are you watching the same thing? I mean, Gladiators is more realistic than that shit. I get more a sense of competitiveness. Or that word I said properly, obviously. It's more competitive on Gladiators than it was on those fucking head-to-head debate pieces of shit. At least in America, you had a fucking old man mumbling and stumbling, man. Pure entertainment. You know, like hide behind your pillow kind of stuff. Over here, man, what's it been? The only inciting thing about this whole election has been Nigel Farage getting injected into it. And he is a dead cert for 2029, man. I'm listening to the wrong talking holes, right? And this is what happens if you slip into the bubble. But if you were to only listen to the talking holes that I've touched base with the last couple of days, you would think fucking Farage was like, well, was going to get anointed king. But same rules apply when it comes to the likes of Tommy Robinson and all these fucking pussies on the pedestal people have put on. For Alex Jones, David Icke, Max Egan, Paul Joseph Watson, the list goes on. Fucking Sargonov Mossad, Count Spunkula, all these idiots that were fucking joining UKIP and all that. Are they joining Response? Response? Reform! See, every time you hear me say response, I mean reform or something in my knot that I keep fucking up on it. Anyway, let's get back to Trevor McDonald 2.0.
Essential mainstream Toryism seems to be under attack right across the Western world. Tonight we will see results coming in from France. We guess, we don't know, but we guess that the Marine Le Pen's basically nativist party will make tremendous strides forward. We've seen this happen in Italy. We're seeing it in Sweden, which used to be the Social Democrats' dream. What is happening?
What's happening?
Claire, can I just
What's
be,
happening?
Can I be slightly?
Oh, I have no idea.
You use the word centre-right. I think the centre-right and populist right. And I think that I would identify with being part of a Cameroon sort of centrist right. I don't think that there is a huge amount in common with that and Nigel Farage and what's currently going on in France and Germany and other countries. It's a populist right movement. I think that politics...
But Rishi Sunak hasn't made that separation.
Sure. I think he needs to do that. And I think that politics does abhor a vacuum, just as nature abhors a vacuum.
Do you want to hear how dumb your average Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson and all these right-wing idiots are? See, when somebody talks about them being populist, like, what's wrong with populists? It's popular!
Both sides have been guilty of, then people
Man, honestly,
walk in and do what they've done.
That
I'm optimistic that in the last
is just your average supporter or online on the social medias, maybe not on the street.
So hopefully
But
that will
like,
happen.
people have just not even
it is
thought this
central
fucking
right.
through at all.
Where do those voters go? I think that's the post-Brexit. The idea was meant to be once Brexit was done, everybody who was in that sort of Brexity camp, either in the Tory party or other parties that supported Brexit, would all come together and be one right-wing party. And it hasn't happened, and it's going to be fascinating to see. And you can see why Rishi Sunak and other Conservative governments were trying to keep that side of their support.
Right, here's a sort of well, this is a fact that a lot of low concentration span supporters of Farage and Tommy Robinson and all that will forget. The last general election, when Bobo got in, with a good majority, or I don't know if they called it a landslide, however they framed it, but he won a considerable amount of the vote, even though it was only 12 odd million people. And that was because this was helped, by Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson had a deal about Brexit, and Nigel Farage made lots of UKIP MPs stand down. No MPs. Members stand down at the general election to give because he knew that the UKIP would have been taken. In those seats, they were looking at the numbers and the polling and all that jazz. And if UKIP stepped down, it would give the seat to the Conservatives, thus giving them the majority in the Parliament, which would allow them to get Brexit done, which was the agreement. And Boris Johnson screwed over Farage, and that's why he came back with UKIP 2.0, also known as Response. Reform! I think they should get Neil Hamilton in again, man, so we could do a crowdfund online between the Farage supporters, and we can pay Neil Hamilton to ask some questions in Parliament for us, It's not like he's not been caught, charged doing that before.
I think he will.
A beautiful party, UKIP. Beautiful party. And UKIP 2.0 reform.
It is almost 9 o'clock. You're watching Sunday Morning with Trevor Phillips. The Deputy
Right,
Prime
where's the
Minister told
Farage?
this programme that Russia is interfering in the general election campaign.
Ooh!
About allegations regarding Reform UK, he also said that all parties should come together and call out the use of deplorable language. Well, there's still a lot to stick around for this morning. Shortly, we'll hear from Labour's National Campaign Coordinator, Pat McFadden, and the leader of the Reform UK.
Right, so let me get this wrong. Is it 30, 40,000 confirmed deaths? Or people are quite happy with that amount of that number in Gaza. Not to mention, is it matched in Ukraine? I think I've looked at those numbers before, but I've forgotten them now. And
There's another Scottish guy.
Successfully?
Aye.
I'm assuming nothing about the result.
Told you we rule the world, man. We've got our own parliament, our own TV stations, our own reporters, our own talking heads politically and all that for our trough up here that we've got, also known as the Scottish Parliament, and all that. A good few more pigs at the trough. See, again, political class and the guillotine. Fucking kill them all, man. Get shot of them. Look at the state of them.
When the voters actually go and vote in person on Thursday. So I'm assuming absolutely nothing about Thursday other than to say we have a real possibility to turn the page on 14 years of the Tories and to start to rebuild.
I understand that is the proper answer to give.
What's it? Rebuild, stop the chaos.
The real situation and the politics, which is that
something else very early on, and since then that's basically all he's repeated. Talking about Keir Starmer.
Votes siphoned off to Reform. 90% of Reform voters are former Tory voters. So
I'm shocked.
You will owe something to Nigel Farage.
I don't think we will owe anything to anyone other than the voters themselves who are expressing their opinion in a democratic election. It's an awesome thing. The power is in their hands. There's a real chance for change, and I hope that people will show up. I hope they ignore these polls, to be honest, that they show up and they vote for change and vote Labour on Thursday.
I'm not just saying this just to tease you, though I enjoy doing
Planetary Citizen, I remember, this was a good few years ago.
What happened
good few years ago, and I can't even remember what I was in the doctors for.
That Labour could end up with more seats than Tony
I
Blair
what the
won.
fuck it was, I can't even remember. I wasn't even see it. And
The vote.
she turned round, printed off some Google search results, fucking printed them up, went here, try that.
2017. Now,
oh wow. I think it was something to do with my knee or some shit like that. Must have been.
Of Labour government. And the problem for you there is that you'll have no money, as Rachel Reeves keeps pointing out. Isn't there potentially a problem for you here?
Morning, Philip, Unicorn, Planetary Citizen.
Well, look, in our system, in most elections in the past generation, people have won majorities on whatever percentage of the vote, and I don't recall those majorities being challenged. So I don't know what the share of the vote will be on Thursday. Those
it's going to be it.
About that, the credit due to Keir Starmer, and again, this is not simply being devil's advocate and trying to explore the problem that a Labour government might face. Let's just take a look at this.
At least they're not laughing at each other, you know. You can tell those don't go out for
here
a
are the
pint after
ratings
work.
for leaders coming in from opposition. Thatcher, Cameron, Blair all got elected with positive ratings for them. Keir Starmer, negative ratings. Now, this is not necessarily a comment on him, so it's simply the point is that you will have.
The reason he said that is because they're not allowed to do that, like negative comments about one and not the other. So it's hilarious watching them trying to. Then you come to the internet and it's like, vote reform, vote reform. The influence this branch of media had is waning, and it's slipping towards the social medias and the interwebs 100%.
Isn't that going to be a serious problem for Labour if you were elected?
Look, if anybody wanted an easy life, I would advise them not to sign up to try to be in government. And it is a responsibility. And there are plenty of difficult decisions coming to us. But I do believe in the possibilities of change. I do think liberating the government of the country from the obsessions of various...
True crime, see what you're saying there, man? Like, we can have different opinions but still be friends. That's becoming less and less and less and less. I mean, like, I remember pre-internet, that was easy peasy. You know what I mean? People weren't on the extreme side of anything. People go, oh, you think that? Oh, you think that? Oh, no, have a wee conversation and shit.
Now everybody is a smart ass. You know, everybody knows everything about anything, and without this, with blinkers on, without the ability to maybe comprehend that you might have fell down a rabbit hole or a social media bubble. You know, like, I'll use this as an example. In some people's universities, Tommy Robinson was arrested for eating breakfast. Now that's a reality for some people, man. And they will defend that with their life and honour. Whereas if your objective you're like, that is just fucking laughable. I've heard of some funny things in the world, but the police arresting somebody for eating a breakfast, no. And you can go into the minutiae of what really went on, but people don't do that. It's the boom, he was arrested for eating his breakfast. I won't be voting. I'll be holding my own election. I'm going to get a shoebox, stand in the town, and ask people not to vote. I'm still working. I've done it the previous 2 general elections. That's why none of this is in my name. None of it's in my name. I've not voted. I've refused to vote, and I've held my own election in protest because the last 2 general elections, same rules apply. I can't choose any of these clowns. Nobody in the political class represents me. Let's not forget all these fucking clowns that we need to vote for have sworn allegiance to the king. And I'm not particularly anti-royalist or anything. I'm just talking about the fucking hierarchy here that people seem to be unaware of. And where does the king get his authority from? Fucking virgin births, walking in waters, fucking harems, rapes, and fucking hell. Welcome to religion, motherfuckers. Or organised religion, you know. But I think Labour and SNP will be tied up here. Conservatives and Reform will get a ball here, as they always do up here. But Reform will... I don't know, man. See the people that leave comments on my channel, man. God knows how many of them are real. Never mind how many of them can actually venture outside the house. Never mind how many can vote. So, God knows, but everybody said, I'm voting Reform, I'm voting Reform, I'm voting Reform. Fuck's sake, I'm voting myself. Anyway, let's listen to a little Specky.
We make Britain a better place to invest.
But you keep telling me,
unless we grow this.
But what you keep telling me is if there's more money,
See as well, if you listen to all the Scotland is so overrepresented in the media in the UK, it's unbelievable. As I said, we've got all our own channels up here, head to toe in Scots, tell with the accent. And then you go down to England, and considering what we're like, we are at 6-7 million. The rest of the UK is 60 million odds. So what's that? Does that make it like 1/10?
Rather than, you know, let's have more
And I
money.
think
And you've already
I'm a big bit stupid, but I think that means like 1 in 10 people in the whole of the UK is a Scot. Look at the media down there, man. It's like 3 in 10, easy peasy, man. And most of them are Glaswegian or West Coast. And that's because Glasgow has so many colleges, unis, etc., etc. You educate the world, you rule the world.
Behind similar families in France or Germany or the Netherlands, and thousands of pounds a year behind what it would have been if we'd kept up with the Labour rate of growth. If we had kept up with the rate of growth that we had most of the time we were in
Stammers
economy today,
well,
150 billion pounds larger. We'd have
let's get technical. The Labour Party will win this election, and Sir Keir Starmer being the head of the Labour Party will then become the Prime Minister. You know, like, although it has kind of dissolved into a cult of personality vote, rather than actually voting for your local MP and the party,
that actually,
etc.
your slogan of change isn't actually change. you are still rewarding the same people that the Conservatives have done for the 14 years you've
I
complained
can't
about.
bring myself to watch
Real and worthwhile change.
Planetary Citizen. I
Listen
can
to that
watch it
House
in
for the
small
first time
bursts.
to know that the government of
But
the
then
day is going to
I
put
find myself
economic
getting
stability
triggered.
first, in
GB
order
News
to
is the
grow
funniest when
economy.
they roll out that.
Real and worthwhile change to know that
My
you have
name's
40,000 more
Jubilee.
apartments
Don't you
in
know?
the
I
NHS
speak to people on my
for
show, don't you know?
Real and worthwhile
Sometimes
change.
it works out actually
to
quite
have 1,000 more
interesting.
qualified teachers in our schools. Real and worthwhile change for any community affected.
Mate,
by
it's the cut of the jib of the presenters that fucking triggers me most about those channels. Talk TV's quite funny because it's a sinking ship. You know, they just call themselves Talk now, which is such a stupid fucking name. Unbelievable. They should at least upgraded it to Talk Digital, right? And then that would have like, that sounds better than just talk. It's like, call it, it just doesn't, it sounds like Talk what?
Leader Carla Denyer right to say that, yeah, you've changed.
See, I should do the branding. Talk Digital covers all their bases, and then they can like have an app
Purpose of politics
and still call
not to
themselves a
display your
broadcaster.
radicalism in opposition by racking up a big shopping list. Frankly, anyone can do that. The purpose of politics is to make real and worthwhile change in power. And if we are trusted by the electorate on Thursday, that's what we want to do.
All right, let me ask you to do something that costs you nothing. Would you like to wish the England team good luck tonight?
Of course.
You said that with such enthusiasm.
Of course.
Pat McFadden, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I could get behind the Celtic team if it wasn't for their press and their fans. They do my titties in, man. See, when I'm no watching the football media and all that, and I'm like, oh, England have got some team, they're going to do amazing, can't wait to watch them and all that. Then I hear their commentators, I hear the press, and the endless sensationalism about everything and anything. This goes back to David Beckham getting sent off and fucking ruining his metatarsal or whatever, man. It's like,
what you got there
and
was
the press just go to town.
Got the policies in that he's trying to, that Labour will implement. He talked about the first steps, but I think they are still on this position. They know that for a lot of people, the doubts about Labour relate to the fact that just a few years ago, you know, Jeremy Corbyn was in charge. He was just constantly talking about the change that Labour
The problem
will be.
with being reassuring is it's
Like,
the
that's
other
two
side
Scots
of
that'll be
boring.
on already, innit?
And you were just saying before the break earlier about how you were hoping the last few days would be full of hope and rainbows and glitter.
That was hope.
Unicorns!
Pat is
Flying
never going to
monkeys!
be the guy who's out there getting your heart racing.
The issue is, you know, can you tell
Nemesis, have you ever touched base with anarchy groups, mate? It's crazy, they're hierarchical.
Okay, we don't have that, but there
They
is
have leaders. They have king dongs. You're like, what?
Starmer's popularity. It's going to be an albatross.
Paul Gascoigne crying, aye, Tuffy. Taffy, sorry.
That only goes one way, or traditionally has only gone one way for a prime
And
minister.
I'm far from
That
fucking
was not to be
anti-English or
where there was a
fucking any of that
concrete
shit. I like to
example of something that's going to make
have
a
the
real
banter as
material
everybody
difference.
does, you know.
It's still a lot of
I'm not one of these,
ambition,
I want
as you
England to
say.
get
And a
beaten.
few
No,
days
I would
out,
love
I'm a bit
England to
concerned
fuck it.
about that. I would
Like,
like to hear the next.
I even made a quick
country
clip like that.
start
Why do
putting
England
real letters
always
about it.
try
It's
and
just
it's like
not.
self-destruct?
Accepting it, isn't
It's
it?
like
We're gonna
implode.
come
It's
back
almost
to
those elements of the
another
press
breakout.
that want the team to do shite.
Coming up,
So
we'll
Gus
speak
pure
live with
create
the leader of Reform UK,
storms in a
Nigel Farage.
teacup. For God knows what reasons other than to sell papers or be sensationalist or just all the tabloid scumbags who don't even give a fuck about football. You know, all these pure dripping in fucking money and like, oh, I like football now, it's worth a fortune. Pricks. Just want to sensationalise it. Because they bring the team down from within. Because no doubt all that shit gets back to the team, as has been self-evident with some of the press conferences. Which then get sensationalised, and it's got to bring morale down. It's got to make them question themselves. It's got to make them less free when they go on the pitch because they're dead self-conscious and shit. And thus, that's probably, I would argue, part of why England have been so under par.
in this competition. Because if you get all those players in the right mindset and singing a good song and get them on the park, they're fucking world beaters. But the press, and then even because of the press, the fans, fucking idiots, a lot of them. Oh, Tommy, I bet you that's been getting sung. Start to self-implode and then start fighting amongst themselves and smashing and trashing. It's the same old story, unfortunately, man. Self-destruct. Right, hurry up, fucking get fucking Nigel on, man. Right, I wasn't daydreaming. They did say that they've got Nigel Vagel. Oh, here we go. Woo.
Now to the man who could be more responsible than any other individual for putting Sir Keir Starmer into Downing Street. Good.
Hey, hold on, something more important. GG, Scotland, worst country at the tournament. Right, mate, see, in Scotland's defence, see if you were to write a Scotland script before the tournament, that would have been it. Pish, okay, almost ran. It's just a Scotland script. I was even saying that to somebody in the steam room the other day, and he's like, nah, the Scotland script would have been beat Germany, lose the second one, and then draw the third one and go out. So but like there's people calling, this is the fickle Scottish fans now, people calling for Steve Clarke to get out and stuff because he's a dour bastard. I'm like, no man, I think Steve Clarke's done a fucking whale of a job, man. Scotland have never looked, I've never seen Scotland looking, I know they're still pish, right, I get that, but Scotland are pish, but I've never seen them, I've never been so confident about the team as a unit, I suppose that's a good way of putting it. Right, let's get on with the prawn. Does look like a prawn, didn't he? Or for the Americans out there, shrimp.
You've got to laugh, haven't you? You've got to laugh, Trevor. You follow this narrative that all the media...
Morning, Mr. Individual, for putting Sir Keir Starmer into Downing Street. Good morning,
You've got
Mr.
to
Farage.
laugh, haven't you? You've got to laugh, Trevor. You follow this narrative that all the media follow. Let's get it straight. We've had 14 years of Conservative government, a mega majority in 2019, which I significantly helped them to obtain. Millions of those voters...
I've made that point this morning, by the way.
Utterly betrayed.
In
If
bed
I'd
with
stayed at
Boris.
home, if I'd gone to the Bahamas fishing for the month, Keir Starmer would have won a big majority anyway. And many of our voters, if they're polled and spoken to, if we weren't here, wouldn't vote for anybody.
Is there any chance I could ask you a question?
Go on then.
Right. Let's start with the unambiguously racist remarks made by one of your own volunteers, Andrew Parker. Now, you said this is a setup.
I know it is.
Do you have a single shred of proof?
Well, I'll tell you who he is. He's an actor, okay, number one.
All sorts of people are actors. That's not proof that this was a setup. Have you got any proof?
He's an actor with a rather well-spoken actor, but he has an alter ego. He does what he calls rough speaking, all right? I was there working in the office in Essex when he turned up, and he was, from the moment he walked through the room, like a version of Alf Garnett. Now, I didn't know this was an act.
I don't know
it was
who
an
that is.
act from the start to the end. He spent time with the two Channel 4 undercover reporters in the office. In fact, he spent most of the morning with them. He then said, I've got a big car. He took canvassers out with Channel 4 in the car with him. He tried to get our canvassers to say nasty racist things, which of course they did not. And then he comes out with this, and literally Alf Garnett stream, including all mosques should be turned into Weatherspoons. This was an act from start to finish. It was a deliberate attempt to derail our campaign.
I've let you...
But Jesus, man, oh no, I'm getting sucked in by the vag, you know. Again, some people's reality. Tommy Robinson got arrested for eating breakfast. Other people's reality get arrested for breaking conditions that the cops put on them. Right? And same goes here. What the truth is, Tommy Robinson didn't get arrested for eating breakfast. That isn't the truth. But what the truth here is probably lost forever. Depending on who you last listened to,
it depends where your opinion may sway, unless you've already made your mind up because of confirmation bias. You would have heard this and then you would have went, I bet you that's a setup, instead of being presented with evidence or anything. Because I'm still waiting to hedge my bets, man. As I say, how the fuck would anybody genuinely know what's went on here? This is PoliTITS, baby. Farage is as capable of pulling these stunts as the opposite side and the people who would like to see reform do badly.
Explain yourself. There's a number of things in that. There's not actually anything in that says that that this was a setup. But what I think is even more interesting is...
Well, hang on.
Let me finish my question. You just said the guy came in and he was a walking Alf Garnett.
In accent terms.
Yeah.
In accent term. He didn't say anything offensive to me at all. It was only when he got a couple of our canvases in the car with Channel 4 filming that he tried to provoke them. He also, by the way, specialises, his services online include undercover filming.
But you still don't have any proof that actually he wasn't genuinely a guy who decided he wanted to support.
Well, if you wanted to support us, why not come as the person you really are? Why come using your false acting voice?
Quite a lot of the people who support you come as they really are. There's the guy who described gay people as degenerates. The one who talked about using migrants in small boats as target practice.
Well, that's the same guy.
People who reposted anti-Semitic comments.
That's the same guy. Well, hang on.
How many of you had to disown so far?
A few. I inherited...
What's a few? 2, 6,
no,
100?
Perhaps a dozen, something like that. Look, Trevor, you know me well enough. We've known each other 20 years. You know that I fought harder than anyone to drive the BNP out as an electoral force, and I did so with...
I've got a bone to pick with you about that, but we'll come back to that later.
Success. When I ran UKIP for all those years, and when I set the Brexit Party up, didn't allow anybody to even be a member who'd been part of one of those groups. Now, I have inherited a start-up.
He also asked the BNP supporters to vote for UKIP. So that's his feather in the cap for bringing down the far right. Or did they just rebrand? Because far right is a toxic brand. UKIP, nationalism, international nationalism, get your head round that. Everybody's all in.
I've not even been doing this a month, and I've got some people there I'd rather weren't there, and they won't be after next Thursday at all.
As you say, we've known each other a long time. Let me just get to the root of this problem.
The meat of the pudding.
You can't know the background of everybody who walks into the office, but do you ever ask yourself this question? In the words of the immortal Mrs. Merton, what was it about you, Nigel Farage, that first attracted...
The immortal Mrs. Morton? What the fuck? Was that young lassie that dressed up like an old woman? Who are these people talking about? Men of the people! Yeah! Nigel Farage drinks a pint, he's a man of the people, even though he's using fucking... I don't know, man, maybe people do know what this is all about. I don't
these racists, homophobes and anti-Semites for your party.
People are talking about.
The ones, the candidates that we're kicking out, of course, came when I wasn't there, is the first point to make. Second point to make. Come on. Second point to make. There is an irony.
Your party, you own it. They knew it's your party.
No.
So to answer my question,
I have been honorary president.
About you
I've not
that
been
attracted
active.
them?
Ironically, destroying the BNP means people who are minded that way don't any longer have a home to go to. And so some will gravitate in our direction. And as soon as we find out who they are, they'll be gone. And by the way...
And why do you think that is?
And by the way...
No. Finish your point. Why do you think that is? Why do they think that you are the person who's going to give them a home?
They don't.
Right. See the people that usually come in here, right? You know the amount of people that usually come. See, because this is about Nigel Farage. Right? As I said earlier on, whether it's bots, the windy licking online army, their online canvassing, there's people in the cult, like unthinking people who are carrying this shit out, think as if there's some sort of an online warfare and hitting and clicking and supporting and putting pro-reform slogans everywhere and all that as part of the drive. Well, it worked for Trump, and this mob are like that with Trump. I mean, that isn't a secret, just like it isn't a secret that Nigel Farage asked the old BNP base to support for to vote for him. Now, I don't know if you guys and girls can see that, but there's been 43 votes in the poll. Right? So, again, there's some sort of a central... See, it's AI. I'm an algorithm, not AI. But there's again, this clip, or these kind of clips, anybody out there on social media world saying naughty things or bad things about their leader or response reform, they send people out in their droves, they vote it down, do this. That are just people feel so compelled because they've been mobilised so much with the online and social media push about the tranny apocalypse, vaccinations and brown people and boats. They feel militant with their online, their keyboard warriorism. Because that isn't natural. That isn't like 43 people that are here for the right reason. That's 43 people. Well, some of them, a lot of them, majority of the people, I would argue, have came here not because they want to sit and watch this push, but because they want to thumbs down the poll, change their opinions. Call me crazy. There's my conspiracy for the day. Let's get back to the prawn.
They don't.
Well, they do. They join your party.
But they're looking for a home. Just as on the left, communists join the Labour
That's what I'm
Party.
saying.
Where else are they gonna
Unicorn,
go?
it
Maybe
happens
George Galloway now.
all the
I
time
don't
with
know.
communist
But,
stuff,
this whole issue,
Farage stuff.
This whole issue. Remember,
Some sort
I
of
led
a, like...
29 MEPs into the European Parliament.
I mean, think it. Do you know what it might? It might be Telegram. You know, they all sit in Telegram. Telegram tells us the truth. And like social media bubbles on Telegram, and the alert will go out. There's somebody saying something bad about our dear leader. Boom, and share the link. And all it does is take 2 or 3 clicks. You know, go around and thumb this down, put the poll in. I mean, as I said at the start of the show, that was last night, or the whole day yesterday, and this morning I had to delete all sorts of stupid comments. I used to let them slide because they're not abusive. It's just vote reform, I'm voting reform. Oh, Nigel Farage has a 12-inch dick, you know. Oh, just positive. And it's no people that I notice or recognise from my channel. They're not here for the right reasons. They're just getting sent to thumbs down and negatively or positively, if you get me, engage with clips that are negative about reform and all that. It's I wish I actually cared about the genuine answer, but that is what's happening. So who's doing it and what's happening, whether it's bots or fucking individuals, or it could be either or all three, who knows, but it's happening. In fact, let me see if I can actually... I cleared my comments before coming on here. Right. So let's just have a wee look, see, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. This is the spam that they put on channels, right? Now, these people don't normally engage with my channel at all. What goes around comes around, you celery munching hypocrite, right? Now, I used to leave these up because you'd make me giggle and it would allow me to point to this and go, this is what's happening. But then I realised, well, somebody told me that the comment section actually influences people. Now, look, this is all within the last couple of minutes. Look how fucking many. Reform, right, look, see, I would normally keep that up, but it's just electioneering for reform. And all I do is read the first couple of lines. The Keir pedo protector. Who was talking about pedos? Who was talking about Sir Keir Starmer? No cunt. So they're just they don't even listen to the clips. Seems Lord has just discovered that throwing stones in glass houses off his... What the fuck does that even mean? Seriously, this is Nigel Farage's windy-looking army at work, crying over comments on the internet. No, it's just annoying that well, in fact, I'm not crying over it. I'm pointing out the obvious electioneering to try and influence fucking idiots on social media and online to vote for a fucking City of London fucking investment banker because they drink their pint and smoke at a fag. Grow up here. Right, so what do you think this is? Who are these people? Prick. Right, as I said, this isn't freedom of speech, this is a dictatorship, and I suspect that these are all kind of the same person. Why do these people all look the same? Mate, can't even string a sentence together. Right, so they disagree with what I say, but can't understand what I'm saying. So I don't even like to point out the hypocrisies of that. I mean, I would love to think that these were genuine people or some sort of a genuine debate, right? So it's like, see if there was actually some substance to the comments. It's not that I'm trying to get at the people that disagree with me, but see just that barrage of pish that's came through in the last few bits. Look at the poll. Look at them. So who's sending these people? Where are they coming from? They certainly ain't in my channel out of organic fucking reasons. I mean, I put fucking the best clickbaitiest fucking titles on all my shit. That doesn't work. But the second you start talking about Nigel Farage, Reform, or Communists, and Tommy Robinson's windy-looking armies, boom! You get all sorts of... Are they trolls? Are they an online windy-looking army? Are they bots? Is it Putin? Sitting there like that with a Blackberry, 10 Blackberries, because he's ambidextrous? I don't know. Right, but that's what's happening constantly. So, that was what, the last hour or something? How long have I been doing this now? Just over an hour. So that was just over an hour and how many comments. So you can imagine how many I've had to remove in the last sort of a day and a half as well. I don't get these comments in any other video. You know what I mean? I'm making videos about telling you how to make gold free and free energy and shit. And they're like, nah. But anything about Vag and my leader triggers the cult. That is cult-like thinking. Do you know what I mean? That's why are you coming here? It's like me bouncing into a Celtic forum and just go, you're a fucking dick, you're a fucking dick. Anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the Vag. Or should I say, the prawn.
5 years ago. It was the most diverse group from any country in Europe. And today, we've got the big rally, 5,000 people coming to Birmingham today. Who is the star of the show going to be? Well, it's going to be Zia Yusuf, a practicing Muslim, who is going to say things about the growth of Muslim extremism, about racism in Britain. And I can assure you, anybody who has a racist point of view, I don't want to know them.
All right. What about people who think Vladimir Putin is a really good guy?
The Russia hoax. The Russia hoax.
Oh, okay.
Here we go. Brexit won in the referendum. It must be the Russians. We had to put up with 3 years of being told we've been funded by the Russians until Aaron Banks...
Nobody's saying you're funded by the Russians.
Until Aaron Banks finally won a call.
Nobody's saying you're funded by the Russians.
In this case, I understand why the Labour and Conservative parties are worried. I was opposed to the Iraq war. I thought it was absolutely crazy to go into Libya.
No, but let me
Philip, I won't be voting, my man.
10 years ago, I stood up in the
I think
European
it's more
Parliament and
powerful
said,
not voting than
you are
voting
giving
to get
a
the
dangerous
turnout
man
so
an
low
excuse to
that
give
these
his
people
people
can
to
no
go to
longer
war.
stand
And
in
I
front
said,
of us
there will be a
and
war in Ukraine.
claim
Who else
they
do
do
you
it
know
without
that-
consent.
You're once again
Who else do you
answering...
know?
you're
Which,
once again
legally
answering
speaking,
your
that's
own
what they
question.
are
My
doing.
question to you is, are you aware that these bots, probably Russian-inspired, are interfering
don't
in the
talk
election?
cobblers.
I mean, the Deputy Prime Minister is talking cobblers.
I mean, you have...
Right, I just showed an example of that. Now, if you stay in conspiratard land, you'll be like on the page with, if you're a Nigel Farage fanboy, you'll think that's one big conspiracy. I just showed you evidence. say something bad. That is electioneering. That's more powerful than this shit. More people will probably see no comments on mine. In fact, actually, go and look at the amount of views that those clips are getting. They aren't the amount of views that I get for people who want to fucking watch my stuff for the right reasons. It's not at all. The views have went through the roof on my fucking clips when you say Farage, a response, or Tommy Robinson, and it's because it does influence people, man. God knows what those comments were and where they were from. I could easily believe they're bots. Probably in Singapore, but maybe paid for by Russia. Do you know, there's semantics going on here. But I just showed you an example. Do you know what? Before the end of when I finish the Vag interview, I'll go back and see how many have popped in since then. Let's see how many votes. 43 votes. That ain't natural. That ain't the people that are coming here for the right reasons. I get people might drop in, have a wee vote, watch a wee bit and then bounce out. I get that. But just this mega stream of people like that, like a game, like a tennis ball. It's almost like it's like 1 or 2, 3 people just like that, and bouncing about all their different accounts. Again, trying to like project fear, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. I mean, you go into social media bubbles, you'll think everybody supports Nigel Farage. You'll think Tommy Robinson could get elected Prime Minister. There are actually fucking windy lickers like that talking about that genuinely. Like Tommy Robinson for PM. I think his criminal convictions might actually stop him from running. I think.
Had this bland fellow on earlier, who apparently is the Deputy Prime Minister, who no one knows who he is, and there he is saying, "Oh, there are Russian bots involved." Hang on, did you ask him how many millions of pounds his party have taken from Russian sources over the course of the last few years?
You can't keep doing this.
This is the Russia hoax.
You can't keep asking yourself a question and answering it.
Can I be clear? Vladimir Putin is a very, very dangerous, but dangerously clever man. I abhor what he's done in Ukraine, totally and utterly.
All right,
David,
but I
how
was
you doing,
far-sighted. I saw this coming.
All right. Let me ask you really a sort of a serious, substantial question. You are friends and allies with Donald Trump. Does he share your view that the West is largely to blame for Vladimir Putin's invasion?
No, but Henry Kissinger does, and many other very senior.
See, it's no a shame that the polls been spammed by fucking pro-Vag and reform people, because like people who do like Nigel Farage and reform are obviously more than welcome here, man. There's no that isn't the point I'm making. I can clearly see that there's traffic getting sent probably to all fucking channels talking about Nigel Farage and reform, and depending on the channel's slant, they'll start spamming the chat or the comment section, because that sways people's opinion. It creates false narratives. It allows people to think everybody, look at the support for fucking reform. Anyway.
Figures. Yes, Henry Kissinger warned about this all the way through the 90s, the noughties and onwards. Look, we are where we are. The fact that I got it right all those years ago,
Devin, that's a good one. Reframe.
Doesn't
that's
matter.
The cracker,
we are
buddy.
where we are. And I'll tell you why I like Donald Trump above all. This was the man that signed the Abraham Accords, got Israel and Arab states to start working closely together. This was the man who had the guts to cross the line and go into North Korea. This was the first president in 5 not to launch a foreign war. And I think, and this, by the way, there's no debate in this general election about foreign policy whatsoever, other than the attempt to smear me.
All right.
I think the world's in a very dangerous place.
Nobody's smearing you, Nigel.
Well, they're accusing me of supporting Vladimir Putin, and you virtually are too.
Let's just talk about the thing that I think most interests you, which is the future of the right. If you win your seat on Thursday,
when you say patata and I say potato, you say tomato and I say tomato.
Actually, that's the point.
Tomato, potato. Let's call the whole thing off.
Themselves. They're only being held together by an electoral system. And by the way, this time next Sunday, you will be discussing how unfit for purpose
Reframe,
absolute first-past
restart,
vote is, I promise you, because
retarded.
Labour are going to win a
Welcome
vast
to
number of
reform.
seats on not a very big share of the vote, and you'll probably find people like us with many, many, many millions of votes will win seats, but nowhere near as many, perhaps, as we deserve. We have, now I've been back a month. It's a month tomorrow that I've been back doing this, all right?
Right. Because they're going to get a lot of, like, I'll try and break this down for a dates because I don't fully understand it as well, but I do a wee to a certain extent. So you don't vote for a prime minister, you vote for your local politicians who are part of a party, and then the most seats wins the majority in the parliament, and then the head of that party is the PM. So what he's talking about is they're going to get millions. Somebody mentioned this in the comments the other day, the numbers he put out, I don't know where he got them from. He was like, they'll get about 7 million votes, about one seat. So the amount of votes they get don't translate into any sort of a power or representation in the parliament, because locally the people don't want them, but there's a lot of support spread around, let's say. So they want proportional representation, which would take away like the first past the post system, and that's about as technical as I can get. But these are the, I think these are the things that are interesting to try and get your head round. Just the technicalities and stuff. You know, like when Sir Keir Starmer and the Speecher sabotaged the SNP's motion for the UK Parliament to call for a permanent ceasefire inside Gaza, and that got sabotaged between the Speaker and Sir Keir Starmer and the party whips, and everybody's forgot about it now. Nobody is battered an eyelid, and it was like, it was a massive scandal at the time because that had never happened before. There'd never been a need for it before. Anyway.
Built up, we've now got 60,000 people paying with 25 quid. We've got a mailing list.
Okay.
Whatever 200. What I'm going to do, not just in Parliament, but out in the country more importantly, we're going to build a mass movement for real change.
Okay. Well, look.
Told you, Nigel Farage is grooming everybody for 2029. So those people in those stupid ass fucking votes in the poll, which aren't real, and the stupid ass comments in on the videos that aren't real, they could easily be bots. Easily. Go and look at, you can, whoever's writing the comments, don't watch the clips. And it's just all the same shite. It's almost like, I said it in a video the other day, it's identical to the barrage of comments I used to get for the Tommunists, the Tommy-tards, Tommy Robinson's windy licking army. All kind of different, but the same. Stop drinking, butt fast, lay off the crack, lay off the smack, are you a crack? It's like laughable, man. It's really, really, really laughable. Anyway, let's get back to Vatch.
This mass movement, I want to ask you about its character. As you said, we've known each other a while, and I want to put this to you personally, so give me a moment to explain it.
Sure.
I know intuitively when somebody doesn't like me because of my colour. That's not you.
No.
I don't think you care much about those things.
What
But
the
actually,
fuck? Why
I
did he
wonder
come up
if
with?
you're doing something worse than that. You have a political project, which is to destroy Conservative and all of that.
No.
And
It's a
all of-
positive project.
Yeah, no, you've got a project, and you're prepared to use any means at all, including fanning the flames of prejudice, to advance that project, which is why you will turn a blind eye to people who use words like packy, people who talk
That is
about gay people as
absolutely-
degenerate.
Oh, I used an English
Utterly
word.
untrue. You damn well know, having known me for 20 years.
My
it's
point is,
untrue.
not what's
And you
in your...
know, and-
no,
and
my
you
point
know-
is not what's in your mind, it is what you are doing.
Well, say that after today. right, when we launched the biggest donor to our campaign and the new star of our party, and you'll see a lot of this man in politics say that to Zia next
You're going
week.
to tell me you've got a nation donor.
Yeah.
That's not my point.
Got to be a
My
black dude
point
or something,
is-
innit?
My point is that what you're...
They've got a token black and brown. They donate to them.
Which is prepared to turn a blind eye to
It's
the
Mo Hitler.
prejudices
You
of
honestly
of
think
its supporters who come in off the road into the office with their Afghanistan-style things, and you don't mind that because you've got this bigger project in your mind.
Who's fucking
Without-
Afghan?
Without knowing...
What the fuck
without-
is this shit?
without
What decade are
caring
these fucking old
what it is
fucks staying
doing
in?
to the
And I'm
sense
an old
of
fuck.
politics and the tenor of politics in this country. That's the accusation.
I wonder how many Labour supporters and Conservative supporters
I'm not
share
talking to them, I'm talking
similar
about you.
views. No, but that's the point, isn't it? That's the point. You single me out for this.
Yep.
You wouldn't ask. By the way, this Afghanet figure said he was a member of the Conservative Party, so perhaps you better ask Oliver Dowden next
Police
time. about
urgently
that.
assessing
Political parties
activist
attract all
comments.
sorts of people. I always think politics brings out the best and the worst in people. And I'm not fanning the flames of anything. I want unity in this country. I am worried that through diversity, through inclusion, through all these agendas that are being pushed, our schools, critical race theory, we're not bringing people together with this, we're dividing people. I want to live, Trevor, in a country that is literally colourblind. I couldn't care less what colour you are. I'm not interested in what sexuality you have. Let's treat everybody equally. That is my agenda.
Are you still in the place where you said to me
Two
several years
more?
ago that you would get rid of anti-discrimination legislation because you think it's divisive?
Very terrible, awful. And what we're doing in our schools, telling young white kids...
Seriously?
What we're doing in our schools, telling young white kids they're oppressors and young black
In
kids they're
fact,
victims,
five
is
more.
truly dreadful.
Let me just finally ask you this. I'm going to put this as politely as I can because as you say, we've known each other.
Yep.
We treat each other with respect.
5 more in fucking 5 minutes. I'm sure all those people are coming here for the right reason. You know? I mean, what kind of Rangers fan goes on a Celtic forum just to sit there and write endless comments? It doesn't make sense unless there's some sort of a... I can't believe how many comments over the time that I must have left up because the penny hadn't dropped yet. I just thought it was because I was poking the cult with a stick. I didn't realise it was like some sort of a tool to sway people's opinion.
Do you ever think that you are inviting people with evil and malign intent, with a nod and a wink, to come under your banner because you have this bigger cause, but what they want to do is essentially get rid of people like me?
Do you know how many people in this country genuinely have malign intent? It's minute.
Fuck's sake, man, he sounds more fucking English than the fucking Queen. Who's talking? Well, in fact, there are some people out there who'll find them all fucking home. Fucking... It's amazing.
It's absolutely minute. Let's stop being so horrible.
What?
Let's stop being so horrible about the people of this country. We are the most decent people on earth, and I won't hear other.
Nigel Farage, thank you very much. We will
you.
no doubt carry on this conversation. Before we go to the break, I have to apologise for the use of...
Is that Uncle Ben in blackface? That's what I want now. Uncle Ben? No. Colonel Sanders, that's what I was thinking. Uncle Ben, no shit. What a fraudulent slip that is. Is that Colonel Sanders? The chicken Colonel. No, Colonel Sanders. What the fuck's that guy's name? I forgot the chicken Colonel guy in blackface. Anyway, he's going to apologise for what, saying the word packy. Oh my God, there's a word in the English language. I mean, did you call a fellow human being that? Did you use it in a derogatory term? Seriously, man. There'd be fucking... Shakespeare would be turning his grave. See Robbie Burns, he made people's arseholes twitch with the things he said back in the day. He said stuff that other people wouldn't say. Right? And that's what made them so
synonymous and fucking popular and stuff because, oh, let's go and listen to, believe it or not, the internet didn't exist back then. There was no Facebook, there was no social medias, no television or radio. So they... No, maybe radio, I'm not sure. But anyway, the old wireless. But what I mean in the sense is people used to congregate and get entertained with people reading poetry, singing songs, etc., plays, theatre. And Rabbi Burns was known for being very controversial with the stuff he said. I wish I understood half of it. And we now live in an era where people need to apologise for using words that in the right context. You know, you're not running down the street, fingering people out, or calling any human being that word, but you're stating a word that exists in the English language. Fucking bizarro land, man. Anyway, let's see him apologise. If he's going to say the word when he apologises.
That word, P-A-K-I, which should not be used on Skype.
Come on, if talk about dumbing shit down. What does he think he's fucking talking in a room with like 2-year-olds? Yes. We can spell you down. Oh no, man. Anyway, sorry.
After the break, I'm going to be joined by SNP leader John Swinney.
Jesus Jones. Aye, it's Sunday and it's a run up to an election, so listen to a wee bit more of this. And then see if there's actually anything else happening in the world. Spaceballs. You can fast forward live TV.
Joined us and finished them too. If there's more than a decade, the SNP looks likely to finish second behind Labour. The SNP leader, John Swinney, joined us now. Good morning, Mr. Swinney.
It's right at the BBC building for now.
Can we just start with a very urgent issue? We understand that because Scotland's school holidays have begun, there will be people who will have left to go abroad before their postal ballots have arrived. How serious an issue is this for you?
It is a serious issue, Trevor. I warned when the election was called that it was going to take place during the Scottish school summer holidays, and many of our schools broke up for the summer break during last week, some of them as early as Wednesday. And we've had significant reports of people who were planning to vote by post, who had applied properly for a postal vote before the deadline of the 19th of June, and those postal ballots have not arrived with people. And
see, I'm not even joking. See that Uncle Ben? Honestly, a Freudian slip. I was thinking about Colonel Sanders or whatever, the chicken colonel.
And I warned about when the Prime Minister took the decision to have the election during the school holidays. I welcome the fact that a number of local authorities in Scotland have taken emergency measures to establish centres which could enable people to exercise their postal vote if it has not arrived by post already. And I've made it very clear my concern about the fact that some people will be disenfranchised because of these arrangements.
Well,
that's Sky News and you can hear the wind. So don't complain about my audio, man. It's fucking windy in Scotland.
If they're in that situation?
There is, if they're out of the country,
and unfortunately, there is nothing
that can be done. They have to be here to be able to exercise their postal vote if it's been delivered to their house, or if there is an alternative arrangement in place. There are no other proxy arrangements that can be put in place at such a late date. But I think it's illustrative of the fact that when this election was called,
is it only SNP supporters that are going on holiday or something? Maybe it's because they've all got free camper vans.
Scotland now concentrate on
we need fucking Farage back on a bit of racism and Putin and all that. No, this Xavier looking cunt talking about summer holidays.
November of
that's Rolf Harris. I thought he was in jail.
Left Ukraine in November of
it's Rolf's Cartoon Club. You
in
can,
the midst of the war.
You can join today.
Was,
no,
constantly bombarded.
ingrained in my nut, man.
Our idea was
back in the day.
to show this art to European public, and at the same time to take it out of harm ways. That was very complicated operation, I have to tell you, because we made a mistake, because we thought that we are very smart. Russians were bombing Kyiv.
What the fucking war propaganda through fucking the power of art. Why the fuck are they showing that?
He was trying to throw some elements of the interview.
It's to stop him interviewing himself. Farage, I always feel, and Craig.
Oh, they're gonna beat up Farage.
Daisy, Nigel Farage. I always feel after I talk to Nigel Farage, the main struggle is to stop him interviewing himself. What do you make of it?
I thought there were elements of the interview that were fascinating.
We got Assange back from Westminster. What?
Issues that you were trying to bring up. Obviously, this issue of whether or not his party's been infiltrated by.
I hope Assange makes a barrel load of money selling his story left, right, and centre, hookers and blow, and sails off into the sunset. Man, leave the guy alone, man.
Rather than somebody who happens to be an actor.
In fact, maybe
being
does
a racist. I'm not sure we got anywhere nearer the truth. And some of the issues that you picked him up on about whether or not the country needs race rules and regulations, and him saying, well, that's something that causes more problems than it helps. I did find quite alarming.
I mean, I just think that...
See, I've still got my opinions about this and all that, and that's where I can kind of, maybe it's through all my years of getting groomed on the interwebs, man, but that's where my head's at, man. It's like, see when Farage was talking about, and I don't know whether he believes this or not, who the fuck knows, but I'm fucking 40-odd year old, right, and the race thing, the ship had sailed for me growing up, man. It was unacceptable. There was no like sort of a, right, let's go together, let's go, oh, there's a black family moved down there, there's an Asian family moved down there, let's go and make the life hell or pick on them or whatever, blah, 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 blah. There was none of that. It was unacceptable when I was young, and even more so nowadays, I would say. And the positive discrimination shit gets used to wind up white folk, etc., etc. Whether it's real, fake, it's happening, you can justify it, you think it's a good thing, it gets used as a tool to wind folk up. Just like the brown people in boat shit. No cunts coming to that with a sensible attitude. Is getting used to provoke an emotional response to get people to vote one way or the other because the tides are changing. No, the sands are shifting, the tides are changing. Anyway.
I had a little chat with him beforehand, and the thing about Nigel Farage, you describe it as interviewing himself. He's a very, 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 very effective communicator.
Yep.
That's what he's good at. What I
Spot on,
found
that's why
really
you got the job.
frustrating in the last few weeks is that he's never really...
Unlike you door-faced bastard. I'm a door-faced Scottish cunt, so I fucking know better than you, because we fucking rule the world. Me, Tony Blair, Scottish, and Gordon Brown, Scottish. Yeah, that was that old mafioso. Then we get David Cameron. Scotland does rule the world, man.
Policy. I mean, that so-called contract with the people is just dreadful in terms of the damage it would do to the country. And yet the Conservatives don't attack him on it. Labour don't damage it would do to the country. And yet the Conservatives don't attack him on it. Labour don't attack him on it because, Labour actually need reform to do quite well in certain parts of the country I
want to come back to this point.
To get Tories over that. And I just think that look, I've spoken on the attack it would do to the country. And he's never really pinned on policy. I mean, that so-called contract with the people.
Contract with the people, this gets formed in these people's minds and legally speaking so they can stand and lord it over everybody, tell people what to do, by people voting. And what's the signature of an illiterate stupid cunt from back in the day. It was an X. What are you required to put in the box? An X. I'm just saying, you're going in there and putting the signature of an idiot on a bit of paper, which the government then uses a justification of we rule and govern by consent. And here's the social contract. Here's the evidence. Here's even the spoilt ballots. Go in and spoil your ballot. Why? Just don't vote. Get the turn out as low as possible. Then we can step up to the plate and go, and we don't need mass protests. Look what the cops, the system, the state know how to do that shit. They've got the resources and paid motherfuckers to hit you over the head with a baton, big style, and kettle you, all the rest of it. But just everybody to scatter out and go, here, look, they don't have our consent. I mean, like, did you vote? No. Did you vote? No. Did you vote? No. How can these people, nobody's voted for any of them. They have no right, no justification. Look what they're saying about, or were saying, we'll see whether they touch on it today, about the Iranian election. Right? They were talking about the turnout of the Iranian election being 40%, and then some of the English-speaking commentators were going like that. Well, this actually makes people question the legitimacy of the Iranian regime. No, 40% was the best turnout numbers I could find for the recent local elections in England, when the Conservatives got their ass handed to them. So, think about it.
Is just dreadful in terms of the damage it would do to the country. And yet the Conservatives don't attack him on it, Labour don't attack him on it, because, you know, Labour actually need reform to do quite well in certain parts of the country to...
I want to come back to this point.
To get Tories over that. And I just think that if... Look, I've spoken to both the Labour candidate and the Tory candidate.
DJ, I've no clocked that one yet.
Sort of abuse.
Check that out.
This sort of politics, as you pointed out, Jim, attracts really
Don't
unpleasant
fuck with kids and their ice cream.
And they're not all really unpleasant, but, you know, really unpleasant people are drawn to it. And because he does the cheeky chappy stuff and he does the kind of, you know, hail fellow, well met, and some of my best friends are black and that kind of stuff, you know, he can present himself in a certain way, while, as you were rightly, I think, said, attracts really bad people who want really bad things to happen in this country. And I agree with Daisy, when you push him on something like the policy, I mean, the idea that our children are taught that, you know, they're bad and all black people are good and victims, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too far, because in fact we've discussed that with Richard Tice previously. But I think, Craig...
Richard Tice, who Farage blames for all the problems.
It threw him under the bus.
I mean, threw him right under the bus.
But the thing interesting in Craig is, whatever people say about him, he has an outside impact. I mean, extraordinary impact for an individual in British politics.
That's certainly true. I mean, look, what I think, having looked at all the interviews today, is we've seen each
Girls,
of the
what's
parties
just
try to make
happened?
their closing argument. The Labour Party has been trying to say, look, you've got to vote for change, turn out and vote for change. The Conservative Party don't give them a supermajority, effectively admitting they're going to lose, but make it tighter than it possibly could be. I thought with watching you interview Nigel Farage, is he was struggling to get away from this constant accusation, look, you are a party that attracts racists, homophobes and people who like you. Yeah, I mean, he has a real problem with that. And I do think that for all of the sort of stuff about him being an effective communicator, which undoubtedly is, he's managed to insert himself in politics. I think he feels uncomfortable on this. I think the Putin stuff has harmed him. He was shot up and that was a real problem.
Is it Putin or Putin? Because when I hear Putin, I think of Rasputin. Anyway, you want some light-hearted ice cream? Chittity chat?
Right, hold on. So, Zach, what do you think about...
Don't lose it, you...
Girls, what's just happened?
So, there's an ice cream van there selling just 2 ice creams with 2 chewing gums in it.
Yeah.
For bloody £9 for 2 of them.
£9 for 2?
Yeah, £9.
Oh, she's been bolting or something?
One that comes on my street is either £1 a p or £2. Like, he's going to get nowhere with that.
No, he ain't, is it?
No, he ain't.
That's well bad, isn't it?
He should know. And he only does bloody card. Stood there with my cash. Bloody hell.
That's well bad, isn't it?
Bloody well bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, bet he can hear me.
Girls, what's just happened?
So, there's an ice cream van
Looks like it's supercharged ice cream anyway, man. 2 young bucks, 2 young girls full of sugar, man. It's definitely, I love that accent, man. That's like Bolton, Manchester, that kind of neck of the wood, man. But I think there's lots of biggish towns dotted in and around that area. I would see you next time I'm going for a pint. I want to take her with me so they fucking get her started on the price of a pint nowadays. Fucking £4? Fucking £4! Back in the day, £1 a pint on Friday fucking night. Now it's fucking £4.20. What the fuck's going on? I can go down to Tesco's and get a fucking bottle of cider for £4. Beautiful. And that's why the crack cocaine of the social medias are so successful, man. Because of those clips. Do you know, but by the way, I've managed to stay away from the shorts and TikTok for a good while now, actually, man. But that's me easily getting sucked back into it. Right, finish up with these talking heads and then we'll touch base with the Al Jazeeras and stuff.
And I do think that there was that area where he did say, look, all of this attempt to have diversity and inclusion in the country is problematic and that we should just get rid of all the race laws and that sort of stuff. I mean, that's just overt. That is explicit.
There is a problem, though, which we're all slightly falling into the trap of. By constantly saying your party attracts bad people, you are offending the good people who do support him, who are fed up with, who have every reason, and it's understandable why they're fed up.
You're feeding the conspiracy. You know, the mainstream media, the paedophile establishment, you know, like all the general memes, it's just feeding people's conspiracy because they're obviously, I say obviously, because it's kind of shamelessly how hit pieces work, you know. These so-called news organisations who clearly have a political editorial stance, pretending they're independent, even pretending they're fucking journalists. This is all opinion pieces. News is information, which you could argue are facts. This is all fucking jibber-jabber talking heads. You'd get more sense down the local boozer. Well, into it when you went
with
in.
the Tory party, why they might not be convinced by Labour Party, why they might think that a Lib Dem or Green is a wasted vote, and so by banging on about the racists in this party, you're offending them.
No, there's something that is a bit of rerun of the Brexit thing.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I find very frustrating about Nigel Farage, he never, ever gets pinned on his role in Brexit. He was very dismissive about that stuff in Russia. And actually, my beef with Oliver Dowden is you never spoke up against this when it was happening in the Brexit referendum. And by the way, on Russia, I'd forgotten until Nick Robinson told me the other day. It was an interview that I did with Nigel Farage for GQ back in 2014 or something, where he made these comments about Putin. They bore no relation to what he said he said. He was out there saying... This guy is about the best leader around.
We could talk endlessly about Nigel Farage. In fact, you know, I could have had another half hour with him, but now I wouldn't have the pleasure of talking to you because I want to talk about not just about his impact upon
DJ. See, like recently when doing the daily politics, I've touched base with the American like TV news, but now it's obviously all over the boob tubes and the social medias. It makes the British news look intelligent, you know, like intellectually like superior, because it's so dumbed down, you know. Granted, it was only like a couple of weeks ago or something, the BBC News or whoever in the UK were running stories about nice photographs of dogs fucking exhibition or some shit. So ours is dumbed down as well. But America, man, every third word is like a native ad trying to sell you some shit. Pharmaceuticals, fucking penis enlargements, TV shows.
on the Tories, or more generally. But actually, there's an issue for Labour, isn't there, Alistair? You actually said Labour need him to continue doing well and keep the Tories divided. How do they do that?
Well, no, look, there is. I think one of the reasons why Labour have maybe not really been going for reform is because, as I say, although they've taken,
Oh,
they'll be
Burnley,
taking
are
some
they
votes
from,
off Labour,
DJ?
not many. They're basically
That
taking
makes
votes off the
sense.
Conservatives. So that
Who's up that neck
electorally
road somewhere?
might help Labour. But I think Farage is probably going to get elected. One or two others may get elected. And because he does have this ability to dominate the media narrative wherever he goes, though I think you'll find it harder in Parliament. You know, I think you'll find Parliament a very, very
He's
frustrating
online
place. He won't get
when
called
they
much.
look
He
in
won't
army
have to swan off to America
of
every weekend
robots.
and
In
pretend
fact,
that he's Donald Trump's
let's
best
do an
friend.
update. Let's see how many robots have came. Oh, only the one. Do your due diligence. Just say it. You want to use the women's toilets, you PDF file wizard. Oh, right. Is that real or fake? So, PDF file. That's a good tune, isn't it? That's real, that one, defo. Here, mate, with AI, with the Terminator and all that, now you just don't know. But that, God knows when it will stop. It's the exact same barrage of endless, mindless pish. I mean, let's see. See, they are not people on my channel for the. Well, you can see that. Those figures aren't genuine people that go, oh, look, I want to watch that clip. It's like the online windy licking army or the robots. Who knows? A bit of both. Maybe they've melted into one. Coming along, clips that they believe are saying bad things about their dear leader and thumbsing it down, writing a comment. Blah. It's inside baseball. It's very interesting because you hear people talking about this shit, you know, like Nigel Farage are just like, ha ha ha, what are you talking about? Bots, Russian bots, ha ha. Well, that like he's either extremely naive and stupid, or he's deliberately laughing that off, to keep the conspiracy alive. You know, there'll be people out there that will believe that Russia haven't done anything to influence the Trump election, the elections around Europe. You know, Russia have a dog in the fight to weaken NATO. The people that are getting in left, right and centre because of fucking the social medias are all very sceptical about NATO. That's why they're hiding under the international nationalists. Just it doesn't make sense, none of it. Unless you're just in the cult of personality, you know, you believe the Illuminati are out to get you. They're on one side. Trump and Farage are going to save us with a wee bit of Wilders, a wee bit of Le Pen, and all the rest of their far right international nationalists that are rising left, right, and centre all over the globe, man. Thanks to the power of social medias.
I think but Labour, I think, have got to, if they get into government, one, they've got genuinely to deliver, which is going to be hard. Two, I really think they've got to start calling this out, because if they don't, they're going to see what has happened in Germany and France, where this thing has been allowed to grow and grow and grow because people play to it rather than challenge it.
Part of the problem with Nigel Farage is, you know, the easy answers to complex problems, and he's been getting away with it for years. But I think if we're honest, in this campaign, It's all about campaigning. We're all talking about campaigning.
Exactly.
We're not talking about governing. And that's what's been deeply frustrating about this campaign. The whole campaign has suggested that there might be easy answers to complex problems.
Says the talking head.
Party struggling to defend its record. We've seen the Labour Party saying next to nothing in terms of what it's actually going to do. And I think that one of the problems that we have is actually exactly as Alistair says, you have got to call these people out. Otherwise, we'll be sitting here at the next election saying, oh, hasn't Nigel Farage has a disproportionate impact on politics?
By the way, I think he's right about PR. I think next week PR will be on the agenda.
Yeah.
Because if you have Labour getting a massive majority with fewer votes than Corbyn, Lib Dems doing really well with fewer votes
unicorn.
than Charles Kennedy, Nick
I'm sure
Clegg,
they're all
and
genuine.
Reform getting millions of votes, but if you
Kips,
see people are
clips,
going to go,
levels.
oh, hold on a minute.
It is a matter
It'll
of
be funny to go and
weekly
see how many
frustration
thumbs
that,
down
you
it's
know,
got
we try
as
to put
well.
these questions to them.
People
They
still think
have
that's
their
like
schooled
some sort of a
answers.
weird
We can't get them to
waging
talk about social
digital
care. We
warfare.
can't get them to talk really about housing.
You're
Can't get them
wrong
to talk
about Nigel
about
Farage.
planning.
Slip thumbs
And
down.
actually, what Paul Johnson of the IFS described as a conspiracy
Well,
of silence,
a thumbs
I
down
think has
Sky
enveloped.
News.
Bring back the morning press conferences, I say.
Oh God!
No, seriously.
Now
that used to get
we
stuff.
might come to the morning press conference in a second because I've got something to show you. But before we get to that, as you know, we love a graph here. Here is a new thing that you won't have seen.
I saw this.
Here is the.
I have seen it.
Here is the UK's voting intention by alcoholic drink preference. Conservatives,
I reckon
Sherry.
the Greens have got a few sherry drinks.
sherry drinkers. I mean, that's the one demographic that the Conservatives are still leading on.
Yeah, it's good.
So actually,
Sherry. Good.
can we see
Boozles.
the others? Let's see what Shandy. Here are the Shandy drinkers. Labour, a bit dilute tippled.
Yeah, but what's whiskey? Okay. Oh, that's got to be SNP.
I'd love to get the champagne drinkers up, but I don't think I'm not sure that we've got champagne drinkers.
We haven't got the champagne
I
socialists.
saw Prosecco.
But apparently we do have champagne drinkers. Everything's laid on for the media, but has the careful planning and the absence of
What the
taken the
fuck?
sparkle out of following
How's
Labour's lead?
this?
I think it certainly suits us because it's all laid on. It's easy. The plane's there, the bus is there to take you from the plane. You know, in the
Oh, they're
start of
showing
the day
him
where
back
you're
in the
going to be
day.
at a certain time, you know when you can file.
Oh, my Lord.
That was me interviewing you in 1987 when
Red Rose won.
when the Labour Party gave us champagne breakfasts.
Oh, my Lord. And daily
We
press
don't-
conferences. And daily press conferences.
We don't have that sort of thing at Sky. We are Spartan. We are tough. That is it for this week's show. I'll be back next Sunday. We'll have a new government, and we'll see who's there. See you on Thursday night, by the way, all night with Beth and Kay.
Well, that was interesting. I think fucker wasn't he dreaming when I thought Nigel Farage. I heard him yesterday. At some point mentioned the leaders will be on at 8:30. I was like, oh fuck. If I'm up, but up and at him. And I've not even got a hangover today, thank fuck for that. But let's go and have... Oh, they've got all their political pish. I want to relight the fire of hope. What about your... She's beginning to look like a Terrorhawks character more and more and more. Right, we can come back to that because that's got a decent enough player. Let's go and have a look at Al Jazeera. You know, I've not clocked it yet. I don't know if they do a proper news cycle at the weekend. I'll soon find it.
Stretching across the Tasman, this is a full
Bets in the chat room of how long it will take before they're dripping dead babies and bodies in front of us.
We will have some tricky travel
Al
across the mountain
Jazeera is
passes
one of the
with
best for that.
snow accumulating on the ground there. For Indonesia, I would pinpoint the biggest north of this, but here now.
I'm hoping this is the top of our news. I'm sure it is. It's the top of the mountain news. Here we go. Oh no, that's not actually.
Welcome back. You're watching Al Jazeera.
They really mean for the future of humanity.
What sort of future society on their stream?
Democracy is having a free
Yep, nothing says news.
Fit for purpose.
In the morning, canal.
Voting is carried across.
Oh. Here we go. Right, let's see if they mention the turnout.
It's election day in France, and voting is currently underway across the country.
Thought
The
it was
far-right
gonna be the
National
Iranian
Rally is hoping
elections.
to make big gains.
Another day, another Trump, Nigel Farage
Hello there, I'm
crackpot
Nastasia Kane.
elected.
This is Al Jazeera live from Doha. Also coming up, Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces say they've captured the capital of Sana'a state in the southeast. The army, though, says it is still fighting in the area.
I need to go and
Intense
get Wesley
battles are taking
Clark's
place
list.
between Israeli soldiers and Palestinian fighters in northern Gaza's Shujaiya neighborhood. Plus,
I'm Kamal Haider in Peshawar, where millions of Afghans are being repatriated by force.
Why can I remember him from back in the day? He's got a heavy lisp.
well, we begin in France, where voting is now underway in its first snap parliamentary election in nearly 30 years. The stakes are high, with the far right hoping to make significant gains. Let's take a closer look at the process. So 2 rounds of voting will be choosing 577 members of the National Assembly. So Sunday is the first round, and candidates who score more than 50% of the vote then would win outright, but this is pretty rare. So for most constituencies, voters will be heading to ballot boxes for a second round. That will be held on July the 7th. Now, overall, if a single party receives a majority of seats in the National Assembly, they will then be able to form a government. Typically, the president would then choose a prime minister from that largest party. But if the president's party loses the election, the head of state could be forced to choose a political opponent as the prime minister. This is known as cohabitation in France. It could also potentially limit the president's powers. If no party scores an overall majority, then coalition talks would begin to form a government. Well, let's speak to our correspondent, Step Basson. She's covering this election for us and joins us now from Nice. Macron, we know, Step, that Macron's decision took so many by surprise, including seemingly his own prime minister. There's obviously a huge amount riding on today's vote. Talk us through what's at stake here.
Absolutely. 3 weeks ago, nobody in France was expecting to go to the polls today, but they are, and they are coming in large crowds, I have to say. I'm here at a school in Nice, in the center of the city, and since 8 o'clock this morning, it's been very busy, people coming in, and it's because it is a crucial election. It's seen as one of the most consequential election in France in decades, and also it has a huge consequence for Europe. Macron has been called a gambler, a huge gamble, to call this election.
Am I not right in saying that France is behind Germany the second largest economy in the European Union? I think, don't quote me on that, I think I'm right in saying that. I know that Germany and France are the kind of political powerhouses behind it anyway.
And it also could bring the far right to power for the very first time. There could be a prime minister from the far right if they are doing as well as we've seen. So this is a very crucial time.
I could never have predicted this. I went into the bookies a good couple of months ago and they couldn't give me a price on Le Pen becoming the next president of France. And I need to actually find out the technicalities myself because they're putting forward a young guy for Prime Minister. It's Le Pen's party, the Old National Front in France. And the bookies wouldn't take my money. I couldn't find it online. And I went in. Requested it.
Choose from the center of Macron, the left bloc, which has also the far left and the Greens and the Socialists, and then there is the right bloc with the far right of the National Rally Party of Marine Le Pen, and that's a party that is traditionally quite strong here in this region. Immigration is a huge, important issue here. We're close at the border with Italy, and we've been speaking to some voters, and you can hear that this is an important issue for them. They say it's about security, and one man told us he's from Nice, and he says, I don't really recognize my city anymore. And there's a large migrant community here also feeling they could turn into second-class citizens, as one of the voters told us. So there's a polarized society here in the south, and that could also predict the mood in the rest of the country.
Well, speaking of the mood in the country, how soon, Step, will the French know where their country is heading politically, especially given this two-phase voting system?
Now, just remember, get this into your head, see all these national movements that are on the rise politically. Pretty much everywhere you mention, Katie mentioned. This all happened independently. There isn't like sort of a coordinated effort with other political reasons than what they're telling people to mobilise them. In fact, this is one of my favourite things to show. And in fact, this is actually quite apt because it was in France. The Great Fear. Right, this is what was used to provoke the French Revolution the first time round. And the long and the short of it, people span rumours. Some historians say there was some truth to it. Some say that there weren't. That there was going to be food shortages. The rich were hoarding food. All sorts of. Hold on, let's have a quick read. I'm acting like it's not in front of me. It was a general panic that took place in 1789 at the start of the French Revolution to get the peasants up, the farmers and all that, you know. The metropolises were few and far between back then, if you had them at all, had been present in France since there was an grain shortage of the spring. Well, grain shortage is our version of food banks and the cost of living crisis, fueled by rumours of an aristocratic famine plot to starve or burn out the population, both peasants and townspeople mobilised in many regions. So, real, fake, was it happening? It was certainly used to mobilise everybody to go and fucking start rounding the aristocracy up and chopping their fucking heads off. So you could say similar stuff's happening here worldwide because the advent of the internet, so anybody wanting to rabble-rouse can do it worldwide, and through the power of conspiracy, Bigfoot, UFOs, they've managed to get everybody leaning to the right of PoliTITS, demanding for extreme, drastic change, and let's put all these authoritarian, fucking borderline fascist Nazi motherfuckers in charge. Woohoo! With 2024 in the worldwide Gotham City, looks great, doesn't it? I love it. Let's get back to where I was. The Great Fear,
Well, that's a very good question. At 8 o'clock tonight, we will get the first estimated results, which could show where the direction is, what have the parties gained, the center, the right, and the left. But it doesn't say anything yet about the divisions of the seats in Parliament, because most candidates won't get more than 50%, so there will be a runoff.
I'm reading this out of
between
context,
2, 3,
but
or
it's
4
funny.
Candidates
Just
all over the country, and that could
Stonehenge with paint.
there could be new
Oh, I've
alliances
seen that, buddy.
formed for the second
It was
round.
so
And
stop
even,
oil.
if we know the
idiots, wasn't
result
it?
after the second round, if none of them have an absolute majority, and that's something that the far right is now looking at, if they don't get this absolute majority of more than 289 seats in Parliament, they might not want the Prime Minister, and then there could be a hung Parliament, or maybe a Parliament or a hung government, and also a government based on technocrats. It's a very complicated situation, and you were talking about cohabitation. It could also be the first time in 22 years that the President has to work together with a Prime Minister who is completely opposing his policies. So that's going to be a very uncertain time for France.
Step Vasson there with all the very latest for us, keeping an eye on voting today in Nice. Thank you so much, Step.
Interesting times, interesting times.
In Gaza, more than 40 Palestinians have been killed, hundreds more injured, after Israeli forces launched a series of attacks across the Strip.
Oh, dead body and baby time, y'all.
Gaza City in the north, as well as two refugee camps in central Gaza, including the Al Buraj camp. In the south, Israeli tanks fired on tents for displaced Palestinians in Al-Mawasi, a so-called designated safe zone, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Well, meanwhile, the Israeli military says 2 of its soldiers were killed in fighting in Shujaiya on Saturday. It says one of the men was shot at close range, the other was killed by sniper fire. 2 other soldiers were also badly injured. At least 668 Israeli soldiers have been killed in Gaza since October the 7th. Well, let's speak to our correspondent on the ground, Hin Khudari. She's in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza.
There's no dead babies
as we
bodies,
watch that offensive in Shujaiya continue, we know it's not just Israeli soldiers that are dying. More and more Palestinian families are being buried there under the rubble.
Well, it cuts down in funeral costs.
And not only buried down under
It'll be good fertiliser for the land if and when they want to get that area
for more than 3 days now.
back to somewhat of a normality.
Zero water, they have zero food, ambulances could not reach them, civil defense teams are not reaching them, and they were able to send out a
So it's exactly the same it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Have you got your vodka ready, DJ?
Been very intense fighting, non-stop artillery shelling and endless airstrikes in Shujaiya.
That's a fucking half bottle there, man. That's a good fucking 4, 5, 6 dead bodies, man.
The Israeli forces started their ground invasion in
Then if you
Shujaiya,
really want to get pissed, you're allowed to take a drink for grieving Moz and wives. Oh, there's one there, another one. Don't know if they're the same ones though, because they've been kind to cover them up in sheets this time round.
Shujaiya is a very densely populated area where hundreds of families are still currently there.
It's a designated safe zone. Is that a pile of rubble? We'll stay there. We will rubbleize the rest of the gaff.
Calls online, on the phone, calling people. They're calling people to evacuate from that area. They're saying that some of them are injured, and they also said that they have not been able to leave because if any one of them moves from their houses, they're being shot by quadcopters and by
space balls here, so
anyone was
I'm pretty sure if
the Israeli military and Hezbollah have been exchanging in southern Lebanon. While an Israeli drone has targeted a house in the village of Hulan, which is in southern Lebanon. The attack caused severe damage, as you can see there. It's still not clear if anyone was injured. The Israeli military and Hezbollah have been exchanging near daily cross-border fire since the war in Gaza began. Hezbollah says one of its fighters was killed along Lebanon's southern border on Saturday. Now, Sudan's paramilitary rapid support forces say they've captured an important city in the southeast. They now claim to have taken over Sinjar, the capital of Sana'a state. The Sudanese army, though, says that it is still fighting in that area. Thousands of people have been forced to flee their homes due to the fighting between the army and the RSF. This conflict has created the world's largest displacement crisis. And according to a UN-backed study, nearly 26 million people, that's half of Sudan's population, are facing acute food insecurity, with some 755,000 on the brink of starvation. Hiba Morgan has more from the capital, Khartoum.
The RSF is gaining more and more control of territory around Sudan, especially towards the southeastern and southwestern parts of the country. They already control a large portion of the Darfur region, with the exception of Al-Fashir, which is the only remaining city under army control, along with other armed groups allied to the army. But then when you look at the rest of the country, especially towards the southeastern and southwestern
the revolution will not be televised.
What we
but
do
it will
know
be live streamed.
They say that they're taking control of the army base, the 17th Infantry Division, there in Sinjar in southeastern Sudan. The army does not dispute that claim, but they do say that their forces are still present in the city and they are still fighting. But what we definitely can confirm is that civilians have witnessed the clashes, and many of them have started leaving the city since yesterday when the fighting took place. And more people are leaving the city this morning as we're speaking. Many of the people who are in Sinjar are people who fled from other conflict zones, people who fled from Khartoum here, the capital, towards Sinjar back to their hometowns because they deemed that it would be safer. People who have fled from the Darfur region, many people were already people who have been displaced, and they lived in host communities getting assistance from aid agencies. Now, these people are once again forced to flee, in addition to the residents of Sinjar city. So we're likely to see the number of people who are displaced from the conflict, which is already the highest in the world, increase even further.
At least 18 people have been killed, dozens more injured in a series of suicide attacks in northeastern Nigeria. The explosions happened in Borno State. Police say a woman had a baby strapped to her back when she detonated explosives at a wedding in the town of Gaza. Attackers later then targeted a funeral near Cameroon for those who were killed at the wedding and a hospital. Another blast was reported at a security post in Gaza.
I'm sure this is all internal politics and has nothing to do with
in Democratic Republic
people
of
fighting
Congo,
over
M23 fighters have captured a town near the border with Uganda and Rwanda. They took over
Africa's burning.
Kanyabayonga on Friday evening. Fighting had
Now remember,
intensified
World War
between
III
the
hasn't
army
started
and the
because
armed group over the past 2
McDonald's
weeks.
is still open.
The DRC has repeatedly accused Rwanda of backing M23 fighters, but Rwanda has denied supporting the armed
It's just
group.
been a coup in South America. You've got Trump
At least
in
7
North
people,
America.
including 3 children, have been killed.
The
In a Russian
continent of
missile
Europe
strike
is in
Vilniansk
flux.
in southeastern Ukraine.
Some would say the war
Local
is in
officials say
Europe
11
with
others were
Ukraine.
badly injured. The missiles hit
The
critical
Middle East is the Middle
infrastructure
East.
and
That's
several
burning.
residential
Gaza,
buildings.
Lebanon,
Still
Syria,
ahead here on Al Jazeera.
Iraq.
Iran heads for a presidential runoff. Why no candidate was
Ukraine.
able to secure enough votes.
South
And we take a
China
look at
Sea.
Vietnam's
They're
political
playing
upheaval
chicken with each
and why
other. It's
more
basically the
Communist
West
Party officials could be
poking
forced
China
out.
with a stick. The European Union has fractured relations with the UK and America, which weakens NATO, which Russia love. But we're not at war.
It certainly is.
Historians will look back at this and say that this is World War III, man.
ACT, Canberra, 3
I
degrees
do believe.
before
I would argue.
was here's now anyway hour.
And all this stuff hasn't came out of the blue. I mean, what did I just showed Wesley Clark there? That was when he was running for office, when he was running against the neocons, and he was talking about obviously the plan that he came across about the neocons, man. 7 countries in 5 years: Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Iran. All those places are burning, and Iran's in the crosshairs. In fact, Iran's pretty much directly at war. In fact, Iran did directly hit targets inside Israel, didn't they? In the last month or a month and a bit. So, if I say what I see the world at war. I see the 2 camps that have been made.
You're watching Al Jazeera. Let's
If not
remind you about
3
top stories
camps.
this hour.
Because
Voting
China's
is
kind of
underway
cozying
across
up with the
France
European
as the
Union
nation
now.
holds its first snap parliamentary elections in nearly 30 years. 2 rounds of voting will choose 577
Right, 7 minutes
MPs,
to kill.
and the far right is hoping to make
Before getting RT's top of our news. So in the meantime, let's see if I can find it. Oh.
During the stop, one of the individuals fled from the officers on foot. While fleeing,
A replica
the
gun.
youth displayed what appeared to be a handgun, and a Utica police officer ultimately discharged his firearm once, striking the male during a ground struggle.
Now, what the police have also said is that the
Another
13-year-old
2.
and the other teenager that he was with matched the characteristics of people
Lib
being
lab
looked for in
con
relation to at
again.
least 2
Second
robberies
time
in
we've
which
heard that.
a handgun
Lib
had been
lab con.
brandished. And we know, according to police, that found on the body of
You can't understand me,
Naya
but disagrees with what I
was
say.
a replica Glock pellet gun, which apparently had been pointed at officers before that shooting. Now, the police have said they want to be very transparent in the way they deal with this, in the way they approach the community. The community can approach them, and they've actually named the officer as Patrick Husney, who'd spent 6 years with
that'll
Utica
get the
Police
that'll
Department.
quell the
They've also
race war
released
before the
body
election,
worn
won't it?
camera footage. There has been fury in the community. Vigils have been held, a GoFundMe page set up to pay for the funeral and also for legal expenses, because the families say they will be seeking justice. And 2 investigations are already underway. One by the New York State Attorney General, so a criminal investigation, and also an internal investigation by the police department into exactly how this all unfolded.
Emma, thank you
Riots
very much
incoming.
indeed.
Well,
Some
to the
of
best of my
today's
knowledge
other
of
news now,
America's
and
like
an
a lot
Israeli
of places,
hostage was
it's
rescued from
Pinder
Gaza
box.
this month, has called for the release of the remaining captives. Noah Argamani, who was kidnapped from the Nova Music Festival on October the 7th, was one of 4 hostages freed by Israeli forces during an offensive in central Gaza.
I
want to take this opportunity to remind
Nothing
everyone.
says a... Oh, dearie me, hold on, I've got Spaceballs. Look, that looks pretty cool. Here's some titillation. In the meantime,
torrential rain has led to severe flooding in northwest Italy. Villages have been cut off by landslides, and local authorities are warning people not to try to use local roads. Similar weather is forecast for today. Back here, and Coldplay performed a record-breaking 5th.
Yep.
Still to come. Pressure on Nigel Farage ahead of voting on Thursday. I'll be talking to Trevor Phillips about, well, one of the biggest weeks in politics for years, of course. And next, Jackie Beltran will join me to talk England, the Euros.
Times that
and
England game is
Norwich
at
chances
5 or
of actually
8
playing
or...
at Wimbledon.
I'm assuming it'd be the 8 o'clock one.
Get the full story first. This election on Sky News. We have a
Right, top of the hour. No, still not there. Right, let's see. Conservatives no intention to stop brown people on boats. Labour. Brown people. So what's the alternative? I've said that hundreds of times. It's just dead strange. All these people who never come to my channel ever always come along, and it's kind of like what would you passive aggressive fucking. It's clandestine pro reform shit, just getting relentlessly spammed on the channel. I mean, go and find some pro reform channels to hang about. I mean, anyway, I've explained that over and over and over and over again. No point in doing it again. So, 57 votes. I'm not going to end that poll deliberately because it's just a shit show spamming exercise for pro-reform, Nigel Farage things to try and project the opinion that everybody supports Nigel Farage and reform. That's my genuine belief, and thus censored. But I'm going to keep it up until the end of the show just to see how many people are triggered enough to come along. Right, hurry up, RT. Get a march on. Has it got music? Please tell me this has got music. Or is it just war sounds?
Bên mai đúng không? Cho nên
That is a cool war porn. So what time's that? 11 o'clock, right? Have a wee shifty, it was on RT. And I'm going to do the off. Okay, in the room with a dum. I think there's people out there that buy like RT cups and clocks, and I don't think that's meant to be a joke. I think that's genuine. There are people that gone with RT that they think it's some sort of a freedom teller. And... oh my god, it is. It's like Alex Jonesy's fucking info host shop. A bit of tat you want, man, with branded t-shirts and everything. I've they clocked a whole one of that before. Who the fuck goes to the RT shop? Guilty for truth.
Home at last. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange takes his first steps on Australian soil, reunited with his family after a grueling 14-year-long legal battle.
A couple of days ago, at least.
How's it feel to be a free man, Mr. Assange? Woo! Come on now, y'all. Anything about the body of government, sir? Body of government.
That's after a judge accepted a plea deal struck with the U.S. government, with which Assange had little choice but to agree. Australian lawmaker Andrew Wilkie slammed Washington for setting an alarming precedent.
On U.S. territory, a precedent was set for the charging and conviction of a journalist for doing their job. That is a really
this is just shit about Sunday in it. This
it's
is
the sort of thing we
shit
expect
during the week.
in an authoritarian,
so up the top right it says the weekly.
country.
So.
And 20 people died in a series of terrorist attacks on religious sites and police posts in southern Russia last Sunday. The region declared 3 days of mourning to commemorate.
I think
the
they're just
victims.
regurgitating. Must be a skeleton staff on it the weekend.
Live in Moscow, you're watching RT International. I'm Rachel Rubel with a look at the top stories from the week gone by. After 14-year-long legal battle, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange returned home to Australia, reuniting with his family after striking a plea deal with the U.S. government.
How's that? You want to see something funny?
Yes, hugging her now. Oh, we picked her up in the air. Dad, hugging Dad. Kisses. Yes, hugs.
A friend's done this for me.
Assange's release sparked celebrations in Australia. Demonstrators gathered to praise the outcome of the court hearing and Julian's return home. But Australian lawmakers are worried about the precedent his case has
clips,
set.
mugs do exist.
I will flag though.
I've also got a t-shirt through there, man, that somebody made for me back in the
and that
day.
is today, on US territory, a precedent was set for the
back in the
charging
day.
and conviction of a journalist for doing their job. That is a really alarming precedent. It's the sort of thing we'd expect
Precedent.
in an
I hate that word, I can
authoritarian,
never get
totalitarian country. It is not what we would expect from the United States or a similar country like Australia. I think it sends a chill down the spine of journalists worldwide that this precedent has been set, and it means there is more work to do to push for media freedom and protections for journalists so they can do their job.
How's it feel to be a free man, Mr. Assange? Woo! Come on now, y'all. Come on. Anything about the body of government, sir? Body of government. Anything about the body of government?
Assange could be seen here leaving the courtroom a free man after 14 years of...
Hasdak, I'm pretty sure you can take a screenshot of the wee hangme, send it off to one of those places that stick shit on mugs. The reason she done that for me is because her mum and whatnot kind of do that as a business. So for her to knock that one up for me, it was easy enough for her because she'd obviously got all the equipment and whatnot there. But it was a nice present, man. Amazing present.
Legal persecution with his saga finally over. Well, despite a massive sense of relief and joy over his release, the whistleblower's lawyer says the case has had a chilling effect, with the U.S. pursuing journalism as a crime.
Mr. Assange revealed truthful, important, and newsworthy information, including revealing that the United States had committed war crimes, and he has suffered tremendously in his fight for free speech, for freedom of the press, and to ensure
this is
that
all,
the American public and the
this
world
is
community
this is not new,
gets
man. This is all
truthful and
regurgitated
important
shit, isn't it?
newsworthy information. That is called journalism. The United States prosecuted that. They exposed Mr. Assange to 175 years in prison. That is what has a chilling effect. Today, the decision that it's time for Mr. Assange to go home, that doesn't have a chilling effect. The chilling effect is the United States pursuing journalism as a crime. I hope this is the first and last time.
Julian Assange is a free man now that he accepted a
I'm American on a television, so I have to speak like an American robot. I don't know why, but Americans sound like fucking robots.
The work of WikiLeaks will continue.
62 months in Belmarsh to get this deal. WikiLeaks' work will continue, and Mr. Assange, I have no doubt.
Vote reform, save our country from Labour.
Speak and transparency, government.
Hopefully, I'm demonstrating to like people that kick about what I'm talking about with my channel getting absolutely spammed.
For time served, no supervised release in order to return to Australia a free man after 14 years of illegal battle, plenty of time in a British prison. Julian Assange.
Do you think this man, while he's making love to his girlfriend, please, dear, can I stick it in there?
Assange had to formally admit guilt and, plead guilty to a criminal charge violating the U.S. Espionage Act. This is what was said in the tense moments in the U.S. federal courthouse.
Working as a journalist, I encouraged my source to provide information that was said to be classified in order to publish that information. I believe the First Amendment protected that activity, but I accept that it was a violation of the Espionage Statute. I believe the First Amendment and the Espionage Act are in contradiction with each other, but I accept that it would be difficult to win such a case given all the circumstances.
It's been 14 years that Julian Assange has been facing off in a legal battle. And at this point, we see him on his way home after quite a bit of time walled up in the Ecuadorian embassy, quite a bit of time in British prisons, a long extradition battle. Now, around the world, many are looking on and seeing this as an example of hypocrisy on the part of U.S. leaders who constantly lecture the world about freedom of the press,
That's why I thought he was home already, because I'd seen that.
Etc. Let's review everything that has happened to Julian Assange over the course of this 14-year saga.
Of course they're going to beat this fucking horse until it is dead,
rallied in support of Julian Assange, protesting, making social media posts, raising awareness, doing everything they could to highlight his case and the dangers it poses to freedom of information and journalistic protections. Many people around the world are happy to see him free, though many are also worried about the implications of the guilty plea he entered in the U.S. federal courthouse.
Fuck's sake, I can't listen to that guy's voice, man. Like a robot inside your ear. So the Great Fear happened just before the French Revolution in France. In response, this is the peasants and townsfolk. In response to the rumours about the rich people herding all the food, fearful peasants armed themselves in self-defence. Sounds like your average Alex Jones. And in some areas attacked manor houses. The content of the rumours differed from region to region. In some areas it was believed that a foreign force was burning the crops in the fields, and in other areas it was believed that robbers were burning buildings. Fear of the peasant revolt was a contributing factor to the obligation of sensationalism in France through the August decrees. I think that's what led up to the revolution. The revolt had both economic and political causes. Anyway, it's just interesting to touch base with things that are accepted that happened in history. and get rid of the ignorant belief that we are some sort of we're at the pinnacle of all time in history, and we're not capable of repeating the exact same shite that's been repeated constantly throughout history. You know, we haven't reached a pinnacle yet, I don't think.
Then there was running through the rooms. I
Yes, we
closed the
get rid of
door
that.
and I was waiting until he left. But he put those incendiaries, and in 5 minutes everything was on fire. They also
It's
set
just
the
going to
church
be
on
the
fire.
Iranian
But my
election.
son-in-law, he is a priest
Endlessly, I
too.
think.
He doused it, so it wasn't damaged much. But over there, the fire was strong because it took time for firefighters to come. That's because terrorists left 2 cars open there, and police probably thought that there were bombs in the cars. Over there, everything burned to the ground.
A synagogue was also in the terrorists' crosshairs. This footage shows a crew clearing the debris from the building's charred interior. In a lucky twist of fate, the incident took place before evening prayers, so no worshippers were there at the time. Well, the region's head has since visited the Orthodox Church in Mahachkala to express his condolences.
They must have no staff today, man. This is
Shows
just
its walls and windows peppered with
regurgitated,
bullet holes.
man.
RT's Roman Kostarev reports from Dagestan.
I wouldn't like to see
There
what
were
Press
at least
TV's
20
Sunday
worshippers at this
news
church in
cycles
Mahachkala
like,
on
man.
Sunday evening when they were celebrating the Holy Trinity Day on a Sunday. Now, the terrorists attacked late in the evening. As you can see, the buildings here at the church are all ridden with bullet holes. Now, the terrorists were killed, but before that, they killed a security guard who was trying to protect the worshippers from their attacks. Now, a security guard came to the door. It was open at the time. What he did was...
Nothing says organised religion is right more than having to have fucking security guards outside your place of worship, you know? You got to love this shit, man. You got to love it. You know? You might think there's something wrong with an organised religion if they need bodyguards. That's just me. I thought the power of the humana magic man in the sky would make the bullets bend away from him. You know, another miracle that could maybe like virgin births and partner waters and burning bushes and all sorts of crap.
Security guards as they walked in and then set this prayer hall on fire. Thankfully, there were no worshippers there at that time, but the number of these burnt sacred text.
They came from over there and killed the security guard, then carried Molotov cocktails and gasoline here, killed the other guard and wounded the policeman. The other policeman called the SWAT team. From here we can see where the shooting occurred. That was the moment the terrorists fled. All the people of Dagestan, of Russia, are with us. Remember what happened in Moscow recently? What's going on? People are being killed. God created people for what? To live in brotherly way.
Why are all these Allah Akbar numbers all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork now that the West is yet again at war with Russia?
It's happened before, and it never had any impact on the overall situation and on our unity. We defeated them, and will continue to defeat them.
They want to scare us, but it won't work. There is a project to build a mosque, a church and a synagogue in Derbent. I don't even know how to call these thugs. There is nothing like that in the Muslim religion. It's some group of people controlled by someone.
Happy People's Street. That's the name given to this pedestrian area in Derbent by local residents because for them it symbolizes peace and unity for the multitude of nationalities that reside here. It is also a home.
Right, that's me nearly done 3 hours, so I'm going to just wrap shit up. So do bear in mind, especially the run up to the election, I'll be doing a daily PoliTITS every morning about 9 o'clock. Started early this morning because of the Farage interview. And if you like politics but are sick of the tits, then get your fix from my daily PoliTITS. And I'm not even going to end that poll. I'm going to delete it. But for the purposes of just people that are here for the right reasons, it's just interesting inside baseball. 65 votes. 55% say Nigel Farage and reform are exactly what they say in the tin. I'm not saying that opinion doesn't exist, but that's a false narrative that's somehow, some way, some idiot thinks influences shit. So even given that, it's not too far off a 50-50, which means it would be like 30 odd, so between like 26, 27, 28 people voting they aren't or not sure. But if you trigger a cult and insult their leader, it'll trigger the OCD in people that think thumbs and shit down, voting one way or the other online is some sort of a way contributing. It's a weird mentality, but it exists. So make sure you stick a wee thumbs up, share it with your friends, family and foes. So 34% said no, 11% said not sure, and 55% of 65 votes say that they are exactly what they say on the tin. As I said, that's not a genuine vote. Well, it's not a true reflection. It's not a genuine poll. You know, it's that poll's skill with. It's just exactly with. But let's go and have a wee check in the comment section. See how many. Oh, just the one. But you can see a constant dribble. Reform! Loads will vote for it, aye, in your social media bubble, buddy. Finally, if loads will vote, define loads. Finally, the working class, indigenous, white cunts, have a voice, just like all the other nationalities in Britain already have. Real, fake, just a warped fucking cult member. Who knows? But again, go to pro fucking reform and Nigel Farage channels to peddle that pish. There is no argument to be had here with me. I've got my opinion, you've got yours. Jog on, John. Sitting there like with retarded or endless retarded comments ain't going to sway my opinion. The comments are just going to get took straight down, so nobody's going to see them. I can jog on, man. Go and play with the traffic. It was bloody £9 for an ice cream. So I am going to delete that poll. Shit, how did I? Oh shit, I can't delete it. I can only end it. I think if I keep it up, doesn't he? I don't know what. Fuck it. I think I might be able to delete it. Oh, that's right. So I'll go to the YouTube page. No, I can't fucking delete it. Well, I documented all the pish that was happening, so all good in the hood. Unicorn DJ GG James O'Shea, nice to see you in, man. Hashtag in the morning, guys. Oh, the England's playing. I get a 50p free bet, so I've got a wee bet on Slovakia. We win. Canel, nice to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. And Taffy was in earlier, and DJ Taffy, Planetary Citizen, Philip Jones, and everybody. True Crime with Glenn Clark. Seems like a cool channel, man. So I enjoy the rest of your Saturday if that's the football or whatnot. Stick a wee thumbs up, share it with your friends, family, foes. Tune in the mornings for your fix of daily PoliTITS. Alrighty, poop tubes. And remember, long live the Vaj. Long live the Vaj. The Vaj is here. Get it, got it good. Get cheese. Clips. And remember, citizens, always subscribe. Hit the notification bell as well. And $19.95 plus shipping and handling will keep you out of hell.